Buddy Ben Razza here for Awesemo.com, and we are back with more NFL offseason props, betting, everything in between. We've got a lot of things to talk about. We've been going through some team awards, some sleepers and whatnot, but the thing that we're going to hit on today is player props. Where are these guys going to be? Will they go over or under their yardage total, their touchdowns? There are a ton of props on the board across various sites. To do that, I am joined, as I always am, by Matt Gajeski, ready to break these all down. Matt, I know when we talk in the offseason, a lot of the, defensive player of the year, MVP, it's fun to talk about them, but to me, the biggest value, the biggest edges is found in player props.
I think so too. You're projecting a full game season for just one player rather than a full market of players. And one thing I really like to do in the season-long prop market is look at a lot of these unders. They're usually projected for full 17-game seasons, which don't account for injuries or, a team like the Chiefs. They might be looking at sitting their players later in the season. When that's not taken into account, I think there is an edge on the unders for a lot of these props.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm going to sound kind of counterintuitive because I'm not going to lie. I actually have a couple overs for this video, but in general, I do look to some of the unders, as you mentioned. I think in the public likes to go over with most of their bets. People want to cheer for points. I'm a sicko. I like unders. I like, 6-4 games, all safeties, just no points whatsoever, but we're not going to really talk about that today. I'm going to have you kick things off. I've been starting videos, but where do you see yourself going to start the player props?
Yeah, and when you look at overs, I'm looking for changing situations, maybe buy lows for players coming off injuries, and that's where I want to start with Odell Beckham for the Cleveland Browns. His yardage prop is listed at 925.5 yards. You're not laying pretty bad juice on this. It's just 115 or around there, depending on the books. And you look at Odell Beckham's career, he's basically been over 1,000 receiving yards in every single year he's been healthy. You look at his market share stats with Cleveland, he's easily their leader in not only targets, he had a 22% target share when healthy, but air yards as well. He was up around 33%. This Cleveland Browns team doesn't throw the ball at the highest rate in the NFL, but they are a team that's projected for 10.5.
Brown cow.
Anthony Rizzo has COVID. Let's go. Like, why not? Everybody just.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Oh.
Everybody on this team is cycling through.
Oh my dear God. Welcome everybody to the MLB Deeper Dive presented by One Odd Shopper. I am Eric Lindquist. I'm here on this glorious, lovely little Sunday morning here helping you guys through everything. Actually, I'm not going to be doing a whole heck of a lot other than steering the ship because the ship will be driven by one, the only Gundacker. How you doing, my dude?
Here, nice little. What was that?
well, I mean, I could do like a wrestler thing. I don't know. It felt right. So Spags had this impression once upon a time where he's like, I feel like every time you introduce the man, it needs to be Gundacker. And I was like, that's kind of great.
Why do you want to kill me? Okay, Dark Knight out here with the. All right, hey, let's do this.
Serious, how become a villain? I don't like that.
Good morning, happy Sunday. I hope everybody out there in YouTube land and wherever you're consuming this is great. And there's a lot of baseball today, so I'm excited.
There are a lot of baseball games. We've got 10 games here on this main slate. We're going to do our best to break everything down for you, all the nuances, all the great things we have here at Awesemo. We have no free content today, but what we do have is this amazing podcast called Betting You, and you need to be checking that out. We've got football season coming up very, very soon. We just got done with the preseason game for the NFL, the Hall of Fame game. That was a blast. The game sucked, but the DFS contest went really well, and that's really what we're here to break down for you. Betting You is the podcast done by Matt Gajewski and Ben Rasa. They talk about everything college football. It is the best primer that you possibly can have for the college football season. And I think now that likeness isn't necessarily a problem, I think you might have some bigger contests in the college football world here coming up for DFS purposes too. But for betting, check it out. Heisman winners, SEC, MAC winners. Is Boston College going to get over or under one win? I mean, these are fun questions that we have coming into the season. Check them out. Check that out. Also, another presenting sponsor here of the Deeper Dive. But we have 10 games. We have a lot of baseball to get to. Hello, everybody in the chat. As you're coming in here, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. You guys know what to do. That's how you support us. That's how you keep Gundacker and I's lights on. Well, actually, no, Gundacker has multiple other sources of income, and he is crushing in the wrestling game, promoting the wrestling stuff that he's got going here too. Well, I'll let you plug that at the very, very end, just for the people who might be out and about in Texas. No, okay, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep it straight and narrow then. But as we're talking baseball here, are you ready to get going?
Yeah, let's do this.
Let's do this thing. All right. First game off the bat, Seattle. I was saying this before the show. I feel like this has been 2 weeks straight of the Mariners and Yankees playing games, but I guess it's just the fourth. So thank God this will be over soon. Plus 128 at New York Yankees, 9 total runs here in this one. You just said that Rizzo came down with COVID. Is that what I just heard?
Yeah, he now that makes a baker's dozen of Yankees with COVID in the last friggin' 2 months. Is getting a little out of control, but yeah, Rizzo's down. And Rizzo, since picking up the picking up the since that trade, the Yankees have only lost 1 game, and you got to believe Rizzo was part of winning at least 3 of them by himself. So that's not what you want.
Nothing will ever beat I took a pill in a Ibanez, but I can only hope. We can only shoot for the stars. And yeah, that's a lot of Yankees who have had COVID. Baker's dozen. All right. Well, either way, let's talk pitching. Let's get this party started here. You say Kikuchi, we understand. Once upon a time, somebody that had a lot of Ks and still has that capability in his arm, 26.3% K percentage, but giving up hard contact, 422 expected slugging, 44.1% hard hit percentage. And yeah, you have no Rizzo there, but that's left on left. Not that, I would worry about that with Rizzo. He's a professional hitter, but Judge, Stanton, Gallo, DJ LeMahieu, they all still exist. How are we handling Yusei Kikuchi in this spot?
Yeah, so it looks like Luke Voit has been activated. So the Yankees don't take a massive downgrade when you consider the matchup today. You are picking up an extra righty to go against that lefty, and you still have Gallo and Odor to kind of space it out in between. Kikuchi's probably the Mariners' best pitcher. So maybe you'd continue to expect some tapered upside in terms of what the Yankees might put up run wise, but they're sitting at right about a 5 run total and a lot of positive platoon matchups here. Kikuchi, for as strong of an xFIP that he brings and a near 1.4 K rate, he'll allow some bombs with the best of them. So you kind of got to watch that. Almost just under a 2 home run per 9 to righties. So I'd continue to watch guys like Judge, Stanton, Voit here. I think Yankees are playing with fire, and I've kind of got the Greg DFS mindset when it comes to the Yankees. When they chalk, they almost never deliver. And when they're not, that's when I want a little bit of exposure. And looking at our top stacks tool, the Yankees are only projected to be about a 2% cumulative stack, which is one of the lowest numbers on the slate. So I can go ahead and grab some equity to a Sunday afternoon Yankee Stadium game and not have to feel like I'm giving up too much. And, 6 to 8% would be 4 times the field. And the Yankees aren't one of those 6K stacks, only Judge exceeding 5K, everyone else in the 4s. So I do think they're moderately economically fiscal to get there for DFS. And then Luis Gil, the rookie, drew a surprise start for the Yankees after Garrett Cole.
And he was so good.
He was. Yeah, at 6,500, I could see a lot of a run back there. Looking at our slate ownership, we're putting him at about 20%. It's about 1 in 5 lineups. Might have some Lewis Gill this morning. It's hard to overreact and overinvest in a 1-game sample size, but he was strong in the minors, and it's still a Mariners lineup that presents a lot of strikeouts here. So you can sign me up for some Gill exposure for sure. I can get to some Yankees and not feel like I have to give up a ton of equity. And then I probably wouldn't hate you if you played a little bit of Kikuchi, but I don't know if I'm there today.
Yeah, I find him to be a difficult guy. I hope this ownership stays true here with the Yankees, because it would be great to get some positive leverage. Even without Rizzo, you still have Gallo in the middle of that, left on left, and not the best hitter up against a lefty here. But I really like Judge and Stanton. That two-man specifically, even throwing LeMahieu in, who's been starting to come alive here a little bit of late, had some moments here. You as a Yankees fan would know much better that it's been a slow year for that individual, and I expect him to start regressing a little bit back towards the mean in a positive way. On the other side of this, so yeah, Luis Gill, somebody that was played by a lot of sharp guys. I saw a lot of top players, him at 4K on the last slate. Now that number's come up a little bit on our top pitchers tool. He's actually coming in 4th for top 2 pitcher percentage. So, I mean, that is a hefty number. Considering he's 6,500, by far the cheapest guy. Chris Bubich next down at 11th best odds on the slate, and he's 5,700. But yeah, 6,500. Gill definitely sets it up well here. We're looking at this Mariners lineup, and there's nothing that freaks me out about this whatsoever. You get by the Toro Haniger Seager section, and it becomes kind of a free fall. But anything as far as bats from the Seattle side, it's definitely a park upgrade for them.
Yeah, I mean, Mitch Haniger, he's probably their professional guy that you could play day to day and not feel like you're losing a whole lot. Abraham Toro has been a fun story for them since the trade. He's leading off. I wouldn't hate taking a switch leadoff guy. Maybe on FanDuel is a little bit more intriguing at 2,600 than 39 on DraftKings. And then Kyle Seager, he's also, he's probably next man up to Mitch Haniger in terms of talented bat here. So there are definitely some cherry pick options here. And, one star is one star, right? Luis Gill didn't have time to be nervous. He didn't have time to even think. They called him up. But yeah, he was a big strikeout guy in the minors, 88 strikeouts, 61 innings pitched. But it's Yankee Stadium. Maybe got a little bit on the lucky side last game. He had most of his strikeouts came against righties. 33% of them came against the right-handed hitters, and against lefties, he was a little bit more on the lucky side. He had 100% fly ball rate against all those lefties, and just a 12.5% K rate. This lineup's going to come out a little bit more lefty heavy in the minors against lefties before coming up a 289 average allowed, and any power here. It looks like one bomb in those 9 innings. So there's at least a shot here that maybe you guys can get a little bit of leverage on both sides stack wise. And then if the field's going to be 1 in 5 on Gill, it might be kind of sharp to go after the Mariners here, and maybe the Yankees only get the gentleman's sweep.
I mean, top stack percentage, 4.4%. I mean, they're only 0.3% off the Yankees. Pretty negligible. Positive leverage to be had. Top of the lineup, decent enough. Jared Kelenic, the guy who was struggling coming out of the minors, one of Seattle's top prospects, now up in the 5-hole. He's actually started to make contact with the baseball. Making contact with the baseball is a steep improvement for that guy. But either way, looking at this Yankees lineup, it's kind of the usual suspects. Luke Voit now, 4.2K. You're not getting any kind of a discount for him over on DraftKings, but he's 3K over on FanDuel. Maybe a nice addition into your stack there. Talk to me about Yankees bats.
Yeah, so this is one of those games where it's good for the Yankees to come out super right-handed. That's been one of their biggest weaknesses, and you get to break it up a little bit with a guy like Gallo in the middle of the lineup. But this is a death row of righties, especially that power lane there. Judge, Stanton, Voit would be kind of the guys I'm looking at to maybe do a little damage and send the ball over the fence here. But LeMahieu and Gleyber have been hitting for contact a little bit more lately. And then Higashioka, surprisingly, since the beginning of last year, has well over 200 ISO against lefties. And yesterday he came up big for them too. So, I mean, most of those guys are, boom or bust, because a lot of those guys were relying on the long ball. but they can do it. Judge a 1. OPS against lefties since the beginning of last year and got him one yesterday. So I think it's pretty paint by numbers. You like the Yankees, go for the power bets. Know that it's volatile, but on days like today when we can get them at 2 to 4% on the field, it's not going to cost as much. It's when the Yankees are 15% and you got to give up a lot of equity to be even or better than the field for leverage. That's when it's annoying. But today I'm okay with Chip and Sharon, 6% on the Yankees and still being 2-3x the field.
All right. Anything else here from this game?
No.
All right. And also just be cognizant of that. Yeah. Seattle, 25.5% K percentage. That's 5th worst in baseball. Only a 92 WRC plus. It looks like it's going to be a good spot here for Gil, and 6,500. We'll see what that ownership comes to. He's just somebody you got to be very sensitive to what that ownership's going to be. If he gets up even a little bit higher over this mark of 21% we have, I think you got to really start liking Mariners bats here on the other side. But either way, we're going along. Mets plus 141 at Philadelphia, 8 total runs in this one. Taijuan Walker, I'd never play this dude, and now he's 9.1K. That makes for a little bit of an easy write-off here in this spot. But do you ever play Taijuan Walker? Do you have any interest in him whatsoever going up against this Philly team that is starting to hit?
Now, him and Marcus Stroman just kind of exist to not exist in my lineups. Like
that's nice. They would probably like to hear that. They exist to not exist. It's like interdimensional.
Stroman has me blocked, so he can hear D's.
What'd you do?
He was talking trash about the Rougned Odor thing, which
I bet you took kindly to that.
Well, at the time I didn't have a dog in a fight, but now looking back on it, Odor's my boy now. So yeah.
Life comes at you fast.
Let's go. Taijuan Walker, 91 to 100. Not a whole lot of redeeming qualities at that price point to believe in a super high ceiling, especially you put them in a tough park like Citizens Bank. The run line kind of low here. Really important baseball here. I've been talking about that top of the NL East is a dogfight. So both teams are going to come out inspired. Zach Wheeler, of course, you need to win the Zach Wheeler game. So I'm looking at him to be as sharp as possible this season at home, a 2.61 xFIP, over 30% K rate, just a 202 average allowed and a 0.71 home run per 9. That's what you want, and that's what they're going to need out of him. So I'm very, very much interested in pitching some Zach Wheeler today. And then Taijuan Walker, kind of like Stroman, he has these metrics where you don't love his built-in upside in terms of strikeout chasing and whatnot, but yeah, he can limit damage. He can limit the potential opposing stacks upside against lefties this year. His xFIP is 4.31, but the results have been great, which maybe regressions on the way. 191 average allowed, 0.8 home run per 9. It's the stuff against righties that has been more prevalent, over 250 average and over 1 home run per 9. So maybe this is like a real Muto spot or something like that, but kind of a low total. I'm interested in the Phillies if I can get them decently cheap, and they're actually projected right now in our stuff lower than the Yankees. So 1.2%, man, that's probably a little too low for me to not have some Phillies in the bandbox.
Yeah, and looking at Zach Wheeler, there's no question that you want to have interest in Zach Wheeler. Taijuan Walker, his baseball savant page is bright blue and Zach Wheeler's is bright red. I think that should just tell you 1,300 more. Can Taijuan Walker outperform Zach Wheeler? I don't know what the percentage is, but I'm guessing it's not a very good one considering the two lineups here. Baseball, though, I suppose, would probably be the one thing, an argument you could have against it. But man, Zach Wheeler 10-4 setting up here up against this Mets team. Baez getting added in there. That's more Ks. That's kind of the way that I look at it with Javier Baez. Just not 36.5% K percentage is just ridiculously bad on the season, and looking forward to getting 2Ks out of him to add to my Zach Wheeler shares. I think that's going to happen here, but any Mets that you really feel like you can maybe take a shot on, or just why would we want to pick on Zach Wheeler?
Nah, I mean, even like if Wheeler's not striking out, it's not like he's giving up a ton of power. The hard contact rate's really, really low. Ground ball rate's up. Maybe the line drive rate to lefties a little bit higher than you want it. Maybe a guy like Jeff McNeil, probably their best actual hitter and their lowest K guy. Maybe he'd be a guy I'd be looking at if you put that proverbial gun to my head. But no.
All right. And on the other side, we got the Phillies. I like the Phillies here in this spot. Team that I've been playing, I think, progressively more. I get they're only at 3.2% top stack potential. We have 20 total teams here on that. So if you break it down, we're 5% for each team. They're a little bit below the average mark for the top stack percentage. But I don't know. I just think at least in like 2 or 3 mans between Bryce Harper, depending on the lineup spot of a couple of these guys. I mean, Segura Odubel Herrera now leading off here, 3.7K. He ended up going yesterday. That was helpful. Anything that really GT Real Muto, 5.3K, your pay up to be contrarian catcher, but one of the best hitting catchers, Brad Miller, double dong season. What are we looking at here from Philly?
Yeah, I think it's the playmakers. Odubel leading off is an intriguing new thing for the Phillies, but it's been working. Sometimes you can take average hitters, put them in the leadoff spot, and they see better pitches because they have a lot of protection behind them, or guys that are just trying to find their fastball early, test it out on the leadoff guy. So it would probably 1 through 5 as the bulk of my interest, with Harper, of course, being the poster boy here. Harper has been one of the best players in the league in the last month, or really since the All-Star break, and he's earned the price point to reflect that. But yeah, it would be 1 through 5 at the bulk of it all. If you fell on some Jankowski for some stolen base potential or something like that, that's cool too. But 1 through 5 for me.
Absolutely. Torreyes has no power whatsoever. I always get a little bit hesitant to roster that dude here, but I got to say, Alec Boehm, do not leave off Alec Boehm here. 50.8% hard hit percentage on the season. I was kind of floored when I saw that number the other day. Wanted to at least put that out there. Leads the team in terms of creating hard contact, only resulting in a 398 expected slugging. So he's not exactly hitting it in the right places. But I got to say, it was very surprising to see him coming off of the ball that he was making that hard of contact. So I kind of include him in a little bit of everything that I do here with Philly as well. But outside of, Torreyes, do not play Torreyes unless you absolutely need 3.2K. I digress. Anything else that we like here from this game?
Nah, just looking at Wheeler and a Mets lineup full of 20+% K rates.
Yeah, we're here with the hard hitting analysis. You should play Zach Wheeler. That's what I'm here for. Yeah, I think everybody else is here for it too. But a thing you need to be here for is the 2 new YouTube channels that we have here at Awesemo, because they are truly, truly going to change the way that you play fantasy football, because there is analysis coming around the clock, coming on our Awesemo Fantasy Football channel and the Awesemo Odds channel. Both of them are clicked in the pinned tweet, or the link, should I say, over on YouTube chat. All you have to do is click on each of those links, subscribe to those channels. I cannot tell you how much that does for us to be able to do all this free content in front of the paywall for you every single day, almost around the clock. It feels like we're pushing a 24/7 news station, but it's going to be the thing that we're going to be doing all of our fantasy football content out of Awesemo Odds channel, putting up stuff, the breakfast menu. If you've been subscribing to that, checking out what Ben Rasa and Josh Engelman are doing every single day, putting out great picks. They've been pretty hot here of late. I've been tailing a couple of things they've done specifically now that the NBA basketball Olympics are done with. They'll find another avenue that they're going to make us money at. So you need to be subscribing to that. That is over on the Odds channel now. And of course, the Fantasy Football channel, Matt Gajewski, one of the sharpest dudes in the industry. Also, he's doing that Betting You podcast, which I think you guys all subscribed to last time. I just brought that up here, but I want you guys also to be checking out all the things he's doing on the Fantasy Football channel. It's less than a month away. I mean, preseason just started up here. It is so profitable. We have projections that are going to be out for it. This is the time that you want to start becoming familiar with everything on those sites, so you can kind of hit the ground running once the week 1 NFL season gets here. So please check those out. Let's get ourselves on down through 2 games here. Tampa Bay -174 at Baltimore, 10 total runs. Great park upgrade here for the Rays. And we're seeing that implied total has ran up to 6.1 here for the Tampa Bay Rays. But how could it not? Going up against Jorge Lopez, I had people randomly in chat, and I don't know if they're just trolling, but the last couple times that Jorge Lopez has been on the mound, they've been like, oh, Jorge Lopez is actually a pretty good pitcher. And, he's actually pretty decent. What are we looking at here? Because I see nothing redeemable about this dude. Tampa Bay in the top stacks tool coming in with the number 12.6% top stack potential. They're being owned about appropriately, but Tampa Bay up against Jorge Lopez. How can you not love this?
Yeah, I've been all on the race stack last couple of days. I just love taking pitcher park offenses from the Department of Redundancy department, putting them in a plus park like Camden, and those swings are a little bit more impactful. Yesterday's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Nelson Cruz in the 2-hole. He got demoted to the 3 spot today, but I just might hang on to playing him. Jorge Lopez, in terms of like a real life pitcher, I think he's baseline average. Against good teams, he's not going to be a gas can or anything like that. But he also, he has his weaknesses, and you can see that the strikeout stuff isn't like super elite. Fastball plays okay, and then he has a good mix with the curveball, the changeup, the slider. But it's really that curveball that he's backing up the fastball with. And some days that dog will hunt, and some days that dog gets lost. And I think today is a day that dog is going to get lost. Raise the implied run total of 6+. I'm in on that, and there's still plenty of power allowed. The ground ball rate, I think, is really what plays a part in the frustrating games where Lopez thrives, because it's near 50% against both sides of the plate. And the hard contact rate, maybe not what you expect it to be, but the average allowed is fine. If they can get through him, I'm in on the Rays. But I don't think I would agree that I don't think Lopez is like a gas can, but I don't think he's elite either. I think he can be slightly above average if he's getting those ground balls.
All right. And Jorge Lopez for the season, we talked a little bit about his underlying stats here. 43.2% hard hit percentage, 272 expected batting average. As you said, definitely going to be able to get on base against him. And, that contact comes in a little bit lower, 6.6 degree launch angle, but from just a surface level, 5.91 ERA, 1.64 whip. I mean, this guy he's not good. I'm sorry. I apologize to anybody who wants to try to defend him. Maybe he can turn it around Kevin Gossman style, but I do not see that in the future. Love Tampa Bay here on this side. Then Baltimore on the other side of it here. Michael Wacha's had some upside here of late, but Michael Wacha's still on the season. 360 xWOBA, 286 expected batting average, 491 expected slugging. I would call those numbers worse than Jorge Lopez, which is pretty shocking to say out loud. Yeah, he's shown some upside in some spots, but I do like the Baltimore side of this one too. Only 4.5 implied runs here for this game, but coming in top stack potential, only a 3. Maybe I just like bad teams. Maybe that's what I'm really getting at here. Philadelphia and Baltimore. Philly's been on fire, should I say, but I guess they're coming in a little bit owned here over on the DraftKings side. Over on FanDuel here, I'm clicking over, and it looks like they're also going a little bit underrepresented there. What do we think about Baltimore in this spot?
So just like I think the offenses play different, the pitchers will play different outside of Tropicana versus Camden. I mean, those are two parks on the opposite ends of the spectrum, and you're kind of seeing that in Walker's overall numbers. His home run per 9 almost doubles on the road when he's not in Tropicana. That whip goes up, and the xFIP goes up a little bit. So yeah, he's somebody that benefits from Tropicana. And if you take him, you put him outside in the elements, 80-degree weather, in a hitter-friendly park, I think he's gonna have a potential to give up some power in a good game. His biggest glaring weaknesses has been power to righties. Over a 2.4 home run per 9 to righties this season, and that's been consistent the last couple of years. And the average allowed is really, really elevated. So it's a really strong spot for guys like Austin Hayes, Trey Mancini to get through. And it's Cedric Mullins, man. He's clearly their best hitter. I think he's leading the league in hits. He can get on base as well. And Wacha, while his power numbers to lefties are definitely suppressive, just a 23% hard contact rate, 0.5 home run per 9, Wacha's still allowed a 280 batting average. So if Mullins gets on base a couple of times, which he can, Orioles stat could definitely come out to play. Maybe the pushback would be, could Cash cut the game in half, go to that bullpen and play toward his bullpen strengths. Yeah. But starting matchup wise, you got to believe that there's absolutely an opportunity for the Orioles to get through to Waka.
4.3 wins above replacement for one Cedric Mullins here on the season. Top 15 in baseball. That's pretty fantastic from a dude who plays for the Baltimore Orioles. No question about that one. So not really on pitchers here in this one whatsoever. Is there like one specific bat that you cannot live without from the Rays side and from the Baltimore side?
Trey Mancini has one of the higher ratings in my home run prediction model. And on the Rays side, it's actually, like I said, Jorge Lopez's ground ball rate is not actually it's not going to bode well for my bomb detector. I only got one guy with over a 4 rating, and I'm sure you can guess who that is. Everyone else is just kind of chipping a chair territory.
All righty. Yeah, and Nelson Cruz, I'm going to play every day, twice on Sunday. Hey, it's Sunday. That's perfect. Let's move ourselves along here. Boston plus 190 at Toronto, 9 total runs here in this one. So yeah, no JD Martinez makes this just look like maybe the worst lineup of all time. I've got a red O next to Mr. Duran as well here. So it looks like he's on the COVID-19 list as well. So no Duran, no JD Martinez, the latter being much more important towards this lineup. It is pretty disturbing seeing the kind of stuff that Boston's rolling out right now. Implied total underneath 4. We don't see that very often from this team, but that just kind of tells you what happens when you take JD out of this lineup. Going up against Hyun-Jin Ryu, Garrett Richards on the other side. Talk to me about pitching here.
I don't like to wake up and pick on the Red Sox, but today might be that day.
All righty. Can I get a De Niro? Can I get a De Niro? Today might be that day.
Guys, we already know the
okay.
rule.
I wanted it.
200 likes is the only way. That's
200 likes. Smash the like button so we get that De Niro a little bit later on here in the show. I'm asking for it immediately when I see that counter up to 200 as well.
Yeah, no, I might get to a little Ryu. It probably wouldn't be aggressive, and maybe if the field overreacted to the Red Sox lineup, maybe I'd taper that back, but yeah, I might get to a little bit of them. Garrett Richards has just been going out there trying to figure it out on the fly, adopting that change up in the last couple of games. He's just not putting together enough for me to want to risk him against this Blue Jays offense. So I'll be in on this Blue Jay stack, implied run total a little bit over 5. I still can pick on Garrett Richards. And I'd probably be light on the Red Sox, but I wouldn't be all the way out. I do think it, depending on what this lineup actually comes out to be, against a lefty, I'd chip and chair, Kike Hernandez, Xander Bogaerts, Hunter Renfroe, just about against any lefty. So I'll take some stances on both sides, but I wouldn't not have a little bit of Ryu in the mix, but probably a low amount, but it's still enough to be above the field.
They're completely unowned. I mean, this Boston team, 0.4% ownership here. It's just a hard team to want to stack up a bunch. As you said, I do like Hernandez, Bogarts, even Devers left on left. I never mind going him. Renfroe, we know murders lefties. Maybe those 4, but I mean, then it gets bleak. Marwin Gonzalez, maybe one of the worst hitters on planet Earth remaining. I still don't understand. If the dude didn't play every single position on a field, maybe he wouldn't be in baseball right now, but he does, I guess. Christian Vasquez, Bobby Dalbec. I know he's got a bunch of power there, even if he's in the 8 or 9 hole there, but still, it's just not a very good spot for them going up against Ryu here. On the other side of this, Garrett Richards going up against Toronto. This is surely not going to go well, correct?
Yeah, you would think so. Honestly, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to dog on the Red Sox bullpen here, but if the Blue Jays had a 5-5, 6 run total, I wouldn't be stunned right now. It's, I guess it's moving up, but at 5-3, there's still some meat on the bone for me to dabble with the over. I'm not playing Garrett Richards with your bankroll, much less.
That's nice, because I would be upset with you.
Yeah, no, not gonna be able to do
487 expected slugging, 50.7% hard hit percentage, 50.7%.
Yeah. Since June 28th, he's tried to mix in a changeup in his games. In some games throwing it as much as 1 in 4, some games throwing as little as 4.7%. And really only one of those games did the changeup grade as a positive pitch for him. So he's basically just added another bad pitch for hitters to hit, but it keeps them guessing a little bit more. So yeah, no Richards for me.
Oh man, that's so funny. Let's go to let's just talk Toronto bats then, because that's kind of the accelerated version of this program. Springer, Guerrero Jr., Simeon, Hernandez. The prices have started to come down a little bit on Simeon and Hernandez, making it a little bit easier. 5.2K, 4.8K here. No Bichette in the lineup is one thing, so that definitely takes down a little bit of the overall upside of this lineup. But yeah, you can maybe play Gurriel, Dickerson, get a little bit cheaper with your stack, adding them into the middle of it here as well. I like picking on Garrett Richards. I will continue to pick on Garrett Richards. How about yourself?
Yeah, and stack wise, we only got 3 Blue Jays bats over 5K on DraftKings, so it becomes a little bit more discounted and obtainable to get to. I think Corey Dickerson, Lourdes Gurriel have an incredible price point and opportunity being where they are. And then, of course, Vladdy Jr., Springer, Marcus Semien are just elite options here. This is already a low K team outside of Teoscar, and they're going against a low K pitcher that has a high home run per 9 allowed. So power is something that the Rogers Center could be in for today.
All righty. Anything else here from this game whatsoever?
Stack Blue Jays.
Stack Blue Jays. I like that analysis. You'll also love all the analysis if you check out the Awesemo Plus tools and content we have here right now with a weekly pass, $29.95 here to get in the door with that. It includes full access to our premium content and tools on Awesemo, including player projections, ownership projections, our premium Slack channel, lineup builder, and much more. And let me tell you, if you've been checking out sports other than just MLB, I mean, the MMA tool was out of its mind yesterday. Just absolute print fest. Awesemo ends up taking down first, 3-way split up top. A couple guys that are also in the industry. Congrats to everybody for smashing the MMA stuff last night. It was great to see. There's some good dudes out and about in the industry that had some big takedowns, but specifically here in a house at Awesemo, it was awesome to see. 25% off your first week now of Awesemo Plus Platinum using the promo code MLB Deeper Dive, all caps, one word. If you've been thinking about signing up, this is the time to get in right now. We're running this 25% off promo. We've been doing this here for a little bit, but it's going to be over very, very soon. It will be an abrupt ending to it. So you want to be getting in the door now. MLB Deeper Dive, all caps, one word. And then if you just want to play MLB DFS, $15.95 for the weekly package for that. But I'm telling you, that MMA stuff that we've got coming out, the projections for preseason, Matt Gajewski was spot on there. We had a couple of big Awesemo takedowns for that as well. I had a nice night. I really enjoy all the stuff that we have for the projection side for preseason. I'm telling you, that's going to be a print fest. So check it out here now. Let's move along. We've got 6 games to get to. Pittsburgh plus 215 at Cincinnati, 10.5 runs. We just got done talking about offense. You know what? Let's talk about some more offense. I definitely love the Cincinnati side here, but the ownership's at least there on them. I also like the pitcher on the mound here for Cincinnati, Tyler Mahle, going up against this AAA team, Pittsburgh Pirates. However, that 4.1 implied run total maybe gives a little glimmer of hope that we could just see a shootout here. How do you feel about pitching and hitting in this spot?
Yeah. So yeah, we're not touching Bryce Wilson today, kids.
No, we're not.
Tyler Mahle, yeah, you could sell me on that. He does perform a little bit stronger xFIP wise, and I guess strikeout wise to lefties. Pirates line up about half and half with a pitcher in the mix. So I don't hate the idea of taking a chance on Mahle. But it wouldn't be for me like a large number, just because this park can play so hitter friendly. And then this game total and ownership projection for the Cincinnati Reds is getting ridiculous. The Reds have just been killing it. And yesterday I kind of went on a tangent where I really don't understand the pricing algorithm on DraftKings. We had 3 guys over 6K. They're all pretty solid, and now no one's over 6K. Now why are you corpsing on my screen, bro? You're distracting me.
Go to Slack. See what's incoming here a little bit later. It's too good. I mean, I will take the good fellas every day of the week, please.
No.
Flash it on the screen. Flash it on the screen.
I don't know, man.
We have time. We're crushing it. Okay, keep going. He'll just put it in randomly. Jordan does what he wants. This is his show. It's fine. Keep going.
Reds, they're projected to do great things today. 6.6 implied run total. Looks like Moustakas getting the day off. But Jesse Winker, Jesse Winker, Castellanos, India, and Joey Votto 1 through 4. I mean, that's just a disgusting way to start a lineup. But Joey Votto has also never not hit a homer, and today looks to keep that streak alive. What I was saying is I don't understand how the Reds regress in pricing as good as they've been. I'm not saying I'm for the 6+ K guys. I just don't understand the day-to-day process. Stack wise, however, we've talked about Toronto and Yankees, stuff like that. Those are some like low owned stacks. Now we're getting into betting on or against the failure rates. And Cincinnati not only has one of the highest ownerships on the slate, a collective 14% stack percentage, but it also has one of the highest success rates I've ever seen in the top stacks tool for a slate this big. Like, I get it. Those 4 or 5 gamers, you're going to have people or stacks to 15, 20%. Today, they're almost at 14%. So the field is right there with the percentage of, or at least the projection on how often the Reds are a top stack here. So depending on how much you trust that number, there's even with the field is probably the correct way to go. And maybe, you love them that much, you get a little bit of leverage here, but there's not much to not like about the Red stack in this spot.
There is not much to not like. I think that's the perfect way of putting it. Looking at the Cincinnati ownership, yeah, we said 14% for the overall stack ownership. I do not want Shogo in those stacks whatsoever, so I will take him off the board. But there's some ways, like Tyler Stevenson's only 11%. Suarez in the 7 hole, we've seen him definitely rake here, have some big games. He's had homers in 3 of his last. 3 of his last 5. So, I mean, at the 7 hole, it's hard to find that kind of upside that exists there. I have no problem involving him. You can go 1 through 7 and just stack them up any which way, and it's not going to be terribly hard. Nick Castellanos, if you remove him out of your stack, he's only 4K, so he's by far the most underpriced hitter, cashy, if you will. 22.8% ownership over on DK for him right now. If you take him out, the overall stack ownership drops even further because Votto's next up at 16.3%. We don't have Mike Moustakas, who was 6.2K the last couple of days. And yeah, he definitely was coming out of the gate hot. There were also people who were like, oh, he's going to come out rusty. We shouldn't pay 6K for him. I'm like, they get AAA assignments. The man was ready to rock. It's Mike Moustakas in a great ballpark. I had no problem with it whatsoever. Came to fruition here a couple times. Yesterday, not so much. I was a swap. He's first base eligible. I was a swap off of him to Votto away from all the money, but that's why I'm still doing this show this morning instead of, absolutely on an absolute heroic bender. Anything from the Pittsburgh side, because Brian Reynolds is really good at hitting. You should play him as a one-off every single day.
Yeah, I also like Hoy Park, which means today park in Spanish, if you didn't know, Eric. Hoy Park's 2,200 on DraftKings. He only got like a single yesterday, but he's a good hitter. He got some stolen base upside to him from the minors, so he's going to continue to be in my player pool. And then if all hell breaks loose in Great American Ballpark, Pirates might be worth a little bit of a substack. So Hoy Park, Reynolds, keep Brian Hayes, I don't mind. And if you had some Colin Moran in the mix as well, sure. I'm not getting crazy.
Mini me, you complete me. Just you're the best, my guy. Let's move it along. We've got 4 games, 5 games. We still have 5 games. We have half the slate to go in 20 minutes. All right, Detroit plus 136 at Cleveland, 10.5 runs. That's a gigantic total for just a random game between 2 bad baseball teams. But here we are, Wiley Peralta, Zach Plesac. Those are the 2 guys going up against each other here in this spot. What are we doing with pitching?
So I don't have surface interest in either pitcher, but this is definitely something to spend a little bit of time on. The Cleveland Indians, we've got projected to be the highest owned stack on the entire slate.
Absurd.
And I just talked about, the top stack percentage for the Reds versus their ownership is about even. The top stack percentage on the Indians right now is about 6%. So that means 6% of the time in this slate, we expect him to be the top stack, and they're over 2x that. So the leverage is actually negative. So like mathematically, the way I would use that tool is say, I don't need to play Indians, and I'm hoping that Willie Peralta can capitalize with his high ground ball rate, 53.5% to both sides of the plate, and keep the Indians at bay. Because if the field's going to cover the rake by the Indians falling flat, I'm going to let that happen and just kind of diversify that equity into some of our lower owned stacks, like we talked about the Blue Jays, the Yankees, something like that. So I think there's too much ownership versus our top stack percentage for the Indians, and for that reason, I'm out.
I will play Jose Ramirez and I will play Franmil Reyes together. I will play my two-man. Yeah. I bring it up every single slate where I think that they're great hitters. If you want to make that Bradley Zimmer or Miles Straw, just to kind of like combine them, make it a 3-man, go 5-3 on DK, I'm okay with that. But if you 5-man this team, looking at like Andres Jimenez, who has 20% ownership out of the 7-hole at 2,700, Miles Straw's 2,400 and getting a bunch of ownership. So is Bradley Zimmer here. Like if you're making this a 5-man, there's not a lot of ways for you to get different outside of going down to like Austin Hedges, still getting 8%. It's like, it's just not a good baseball team. Oscar Mercado, 10%. Actually, I could probably get to a little bit of him at 2,300 in the 5-hole. Traditionally a better hitter than we've seen here of late. What is his ISO this season? It's just like 133. Okay, that's not very good here. I just don't like this baseball team, and they're getting a crazy amount of ownership.
It sounded like you were talking yourself into the stack for a minute.
It was, and then you know what happened was that I started realizing I don't know. I can't with this Cleveland ownership. I can't with the Detroit ownership the last couple slates here too, where they've gone off in some spots where they've been like 18, 20% owned. It's just such a weird spot. They got Robbie Grossman back in the lineup here going up against Zach Plesac, who's not the best pitcher, but also not somebody that I'm going out of my way to pick on in this spot, just because, you know, there's better gas cans to be targeting here. 41.1% hard hit percentage is not good, but, you know, 14.8% K percentage. He doesn't miss bats whatsoever, but seems like he can kind of survive. Doesn't throw a lot of walks out there. 4.5% walk rate on the season. I don't know. I don't like playing Detroit. I don't like playing Cleveland. Is there somebody specifically that I need to maybe target on the Detroit side?
I mean, Eric Haas has some power. If you can neutralize that 30+% K rate with somebody that's not going to strike you out, I think you look at him anytime you can. Zach Plesac, just a 13.5% K rate against righties. So Haas has one of the higher ratings in my home run prediction model, and he has a 17% barrel rate when he's not striking out overall. So yeah, Haas would be somebody I'm looking at. Again, it feels kind of like we're looking at some higher end catching. I don't want a one-off middle of bad lineup expensive catchers, but he's up there. Scope, really want to pick on his righty splits, but generally speaking, there is hopefully a world where both these pitchers and their ground ball rates could make sure that neither stack is the nuts today. But at least the Tigers, they're not overly owned. The Indians are just projected to be insanely owned, and I get it. Peralta, big contact guy, big, just not bad, and then this bullpen's really, really bad. But you have to do a lot to have any type of leverage on the field. And this many games on the slate, I probably just bet the failure rate for them to not be the nuts.
Yeah, I would much rather just, if I'm going to pay up for a team that's owned already, give me Cincinnati and in 87-degree weather in their ballpark. Looks really nice as opposed to going to Cleveland, 80 degrees, sure. 75% humidity, sure. Two pitchers who don't miss bats, but Robbie Grossman might be my favorite out of the Detroit side. 3.3K is a really low number, and he's been surprisingly good here. Adam brings him up quite a bit here, but then the Cleveland side just too owned for me. Let's move it along here. We got 4 games to rock out here with. We've got Washington plus 187 at Atlanta, 8.5 total runs here in this spot. 5.1 implied here for Atlanta. It's a big number going up against Patrick Corbin, who showed a little something last time out. I don't believe it. I don't think Patrick Corbin's a very good pitcher. Do you?
No, so he's been serviceable against lefties. Against righties, definitely struggling. A 300 average allowed, 236 homer per 9 allowed. Braves are in a really, really good spot. They're going to come out really righty heavy too. Jock Peterson, the only lefty not Max Fried in that lineup to hit, and he's somebody I don't mind taking some stabs on as well. I feel like the Braves, man, that's my Cowboy stack. Well, I cannot quit you. They're just something that projects extremely well for me against average lefties. And today I can get them at 5% top stack percentage, top 5% own, and I like it a lot. So Braves are gonna be one of my favorite stacks here. And like I said, if I divvy up what maybe could be spent on the Indians in terms of ownership equity, the Braves easily can take 6 to 8% of that for me, and I don't feel like I'm losing much. Picking on Corbin's explicit weaknesses, no days off in this lineup, and then that bullpen, something that we can get behind and pick on as well. So give me the Braves stack for sure.
And give me Max Fried on the other side here. This team, this Washington team, is in shambles here. Only a 24.3% K percentage, 34.9% hard hit percentage, though. It's awfully nice number. Limits hard contact here. Max Fried on this side. Whatever this lineup ends up rolling out, I don't think it's going to have Soto here, who was out last night. It's not in the projected lineup here. Sure, Hernandez Kaiboom can hit here and there randomly, but this lineup is a AAA garbage lineup outside of Josh Bell. If he can get by Josh Bell, I think it could be actually a very sneaky spot here. 4-1 Max Fried. We're seeing him in the top 2 pitchers percentage. He's 4th here. I guess he's getting quite a bit of ownership, up at 30%, but I think that that's warranted. If I'm not getting up to McCullers because I can't in certain builds where I can't go Wheeler and McCullers, I think Max Fried's probably my second favorite pitcher on the board behind Zach Wheeler, price considered on DraftKings. How do you value Max Fried in this spot?
Yeah, we got him at 17% chance to be a top 2 pitcher with almost a 30% ownership. So I would like the leverage to not be as negative as that. But I said it yesterday. The Braves, they need to win. The NL East is a dogfight, and you got to win the games. You got to win, and you win the games you're supposed to win. You're supposed to beat a non-Soto Nationals lineup, and there's plenty of strikeouts to be had in this lineup. So as long as Soto is for sure not in the mix, I'm in on Max Fried 8,800. You give me a shot at 16 as maybe the median low end, and then 20 plus. Yeah, I'm in on that. And then I think the FanDuel price for Fried is really, really fun at 8K. You can do a whole lot if you get that quality start and win out of them. And maybe a strikeout per inning. Like, I think that's a super strong start to some lineups to really get anything you want with the average salary remaining.
Butthole Jenkins brings up a great thing in the chat here. Cut the crap. Let's chat and get those likes up and get dong picks. We'll get to dong picks later. Oh my God, here we go. Good fellas. Let's go. We got to get that De Niro. Going here very, very soon. Please hit the like button. Get 200 of those puppies, and we get to see maybe the best impression of anybody here at Awesemo. Mine, I have a ton of them, but they're not good. At least Gundackers are very, very good. If you want to be entertained on this Sunday morning leading up to lock, what gun?
I don't think it's that good. It's just a face. I just basically ripped off Will Sasso's impersonation. I don't actually know a lot of De Niro action movies. Like I just meet the fuckers is about I don't even think I've watched Goodfellas. I know what it is. I don't think I've watched it. So it's just I do the face thing. There's not really a voice part to it, but whatever gets 200 likes gets 200 likes.
If it gets 200 likes, we get to be happy. I just know that because it's much better. You're underselling it. You need to be more confident in your impressions. You need to be more confident in yourself because you're fucking hilarious. How about that? San Francisco Giants, 4.7 implied runs here on one side. Johnny Cueto. Brett Anderson at the other side, 4.9 implied runs on that one as well here. Milwaukee, San Francisco. San Francisco up against, both sides. They've actually been a little bit markedly better against righties, 201 ISO on the season. So up against lefties, though, that mark goes down a little bit, but there's still a pretty potent offense here. Surprisingly so. Only a 167 ISO, though, up against lefties. That's so strange because I feel like last season all I did was play San Francisco when they faced a lefty, and now it's kind of the opposite, and I don't know what to believe anymore. But talk to me about the Giants here in this spot.
Yeah, Giants coming at us with almost a 5-run total. So there's a little bit of stuff to be desired. They're also getting a park upgrade. They've been in this park for a couple of days now. In terms of stack percentage, I don't even see. Oh, they're at 5%. It's about 5 and 5. A little bit of positive leverage to be had, depending on what this lineup actually is. Would probably move the needle up or down. We've seen Chris Bryant bat as low as 5, bat as high as 2nd. I like this projected lineup that I'm looking at: Slater, Bryant, Ruff, Flores, Solano. that 1 through 5 would be something I definitely want to be in on against a lefty. I'm showing Casali over Buster Posey today, so I don't know if like that's his caddy. But if it's what this projected lineup is, yeah, you can give me that 1 through 5 all day long, all day strong. You might also have the Astros Darren Ruff. He could be purely a platoon guy here, so maybe just 2 at bats from him. In a worst case scenario, but I'm in on the Giants stack. I think 5% is fine, and I don't mind being slightly above it.
And then Johnny Cueto here on the other side, starting for San Francisco, just continues to do Johnny Cueto things and kind of survive at the big league level. 445 expected slugging here, but still limiting hard contact, even though the ball's going up in the air, 14-degree launch angle. You're getting Yelich back in here in the lineup today. Depends what iteration of Yelich we're getting, the 2019 version or the 2021 version, depending on how important that is to you. But how are we analyzing the Milwaukee bats in this spot?
Yeah, I haven't really been a big Milwaukee truther. Like, you can give me some cherry picks here and there. I know,
and no Adames in the lineup. Which,
yeah, I was gonna say
he's a god.
So he's been their franchise player since the trade, and he doesn't crack the loo today. So I'm probably not. I'm not here to full stack the Brewers here, but I wouldn't talk you off of having some of these guys activated in the pool. Even Omar Narvaez doesn't feel like you're getting a ton of value at 43 as a catcher. Maybe Rowdy Tellez a little bit of meat on the bone at 28 on FanDuel, 3,100 on DraftKings, but for the most part, I'm not like that enamored with them. And then, like you said, Cueto, he's been doing this long enough, right? He's just a funky pitcher to hit, multiple different deliveries, rocking chairs, cranes, all that good stuff. So
the delays, the like waggle, the weirdest thing in the world.
Yeah, so a little bit, but I'm not stacking.
Yeah, I'm not going to probably be stacking. I'll target some one-offs though here. Rowdy Tellez still 3.1K. That's a lot of power for 3.1K. I'm fine taking some shots there. A couple of these lefties. Looking at our top stacks tool though, Milwaukee only 3.1% or 3.7%, 2.5% ownership right now. Tiny bit of leverage to be had here. I think I would rather go some other places and just kind of find my one-offs here and there. But favorite bat from the San Francisco side?
It depends on who actually is in this lineup, but I guess
that's true.
Probably Chris Bryant if he's batting second.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would eat the chalk. How about that, you chalk donkey? People, oh my god, Wilmer Flores too. I can't do show. I love shows with you. I want to do all the shows with you, but I also I break very, very easily.
We're gonna get fired.
Dude, we're gonna get fired. Yeah, we got 7 minutes of our Awesemo tenure left. Everybody, congratulations! If you had the under on Eric 7.5 months, you're gonna cash. Doing shows, whatever. Let's go along to Minnesota plus 165 at Houston, 8.5 total runs here in this spot. We got Kenta Maeda on one side, who normally I would like to be targeting. I like playing Kenta Maeda because he's generally pretty cheap and you can generally fit into lineups. Coming in with the 5th highest, so 7,200 right now for him here, 9.3% ownership. I expect that to come up a little bit because we saw Altuve not in the middle of this lineup. It's still 2 through 6. It's pretty tough. Brantley, Diaz, Alvarez, Correa, Tucker. That is a nice grouping of guys there that could be problematic here for Kenta Maeda. And Houston on the season, we know how they just don't K up against righties. 20.2% K percentage, best in the bigs, 117 WRC plus. How much Kenta Maeda ownership are you interested in today?
I don't want to play him, but 7,200, I feel like there is some opportunity for him to walk away with 15 to 20. So I guess obscure number versus the field. Kenta is sitting at 9%. I could cap him at 10 and not feel like I'm doing the worst, especially since we have him at a 12% chance of being top 2. Maybe it's cap at 12. I'll just match what we haven't projected, how often he's a top 2 pitcher. So 12% cap.
All right. And I think that's about appropriate. I don't want to go nuts going up against Houston, but it is just without Altuve in there. One less bat we got to be super concerned about. But Chas McCormick's has actually been pretty good, but 31.8% K percentage so far through 120. So it's whatever. Like he's definitely more Ks added to the lineup. Probably profiles a little bit better for Maeda, but we really want to talk about Lance McCullers on the other side, giving up a little bit of hard contact, but it's generally on the ground. 292 expected slugging, 198 expected batting average. As long as he's not walking dudes, 11.6% walk rate on the season. This is a really good spot for Lance McCullers. How do you feel about rostering him today, especially compared to Zach Wheeler?
Yeah, I mean, I had a little bit of reservations about Luis Garcia last night. He ended up being in my best lineups. This Twins incarnation here has a bunch of there's half the guys don't strike out, and the other half always strike out. It's a lot of 30%ers. Rooker, Mitch Garver, Miguel Sano, Jay Cave, and Trevor Larnach all cumulatively average over a 30% K rate against righties. And Lance McCullers can go out there and get those strikeouts. His xFIP at home so far has been 4.2, so maybe there's a little bit of leeway and a little bit of risk there. But for the most part, keeping the ball on the ground and sustaining a 28% K rate on the season. So I'm in on McCullers at 10K. I'd be wanting to probably get at least 24 DKP out of it if I can help it. I think I feel like I might be leaning a little bit more Zach Wheeler, but it also looks like that's exactly what the field is doing. So again, chalk donkey Gundacker added to.
I think 1 through 4, the Twins are actually kind of intriguing. You're going to get them extremely low owned going up against McCullers. They have the third worst top 2 pitcher percent or top 2 stack percent. Top 2 stack percentage. It's not a thing. Top stack percentage, 0.7% ownership, but McCullers has a walk problem. That's the main reason that I think that I'm always going to be a little bit down on him. He has some of the best breaking stuff when he's on in baseball for sure, but the abilities that he has to put some dudes on base, specifically going to like Rooker, Polanco, Garver, that 2 through 4. I mean, put Kepler in there too, but specifically 2 through 4, they're so cheap over on DraftKings today. I mean, you're getting Polanco, a pretty decent major league hitter for 3.7K. I really don't mind going there against McCullers here. In the event he's walking some dudes, maybe giving up a little bit of that hard contact, given it's on the ground, but doubles and triples count too. That's what I've heard. So I like that. Houston on the other side, much more interesting, much more applicable to talk about going up against Maeda. We don't necessarily want to go crazy picking on him, but there's definitely Jordan Alvarez and Tucker that I think I'm going to play every slate from now until eternity. How about yourself?
Yeah, and Chas McCormick, a little bit too cheap to be leading off. We've seen a little bit of everything out of him, a little bit of power and a little bit of stolen base upside too. He stole a bag yesterday, so it does give you some strikeout worries, but 2 hits in his last 3 games each, and 20. The opportunity cost pretty low, especially in front of Brantley. Him and Brantley should not be that cheap, so I'll take those 2.
No, they should not. All right, let's round this thing out. Also, make sure you're checking out our DFS and sports betting content. And the best way to do that for the sports betting side is with the MLB player props tool. It's the best. You can basically check out Ks. You can check out home run odds. You can find the best bets on the board. Add that to supplement to your DFS income. Please add those to your portfolio because I'm telling you in the long run, using the data and tools we have here is just going to end up printing money. It just works. If you played the NBA props tool, you know what I'm talking about. So check out the MLB player props tool as well. Last game here of the day, we've got 4.7 implied runs here for the Kansas City Royals going up against John Lester and 5.4 for the St. Louis Cardinals going up against Chris Bubich. Talk to me here about pitching.
It's not great.
No.
John Lester, pure contact guy, 5.32 xFIP to righties on the season, 315 average allowed, and a over 2 home run per night. So it is a good spot on paper for the Royals, but it's a bad park, and it is a high ownership projected on the Royal stack. We got them at a 5% top stack percentage with a 13% ownership share, so over double what our odds are setting them at as being the optimal stack. So you're gonna have to make a decision there. Is that too much negative leverage for you to be sitting around for the last game of the slate to take off, or you just fade that and hope John Lester goes full on? Was it the Nats that game where he homered and had a bunch of strike? He was just
he just went nuts. That was against Washington. It was like 18-1 or whatever it was. I think that was the box score, 18-1. Because I watch baseball, you effers. But anyway, continue on.
Anyway, you're hoping
just one guy, red coat, whatever.
if you're going to avoid the negative leverage there, you're just kind of hoping for that. I think the roles are pretty easy to narrow down for me who I want. Salvador Perez cracking the lineup with Merrifield, Santana. Those would be the easy front end guys. So they can fall in my lineups where they fall, but I don't necessarily feel compelled or obligated to, slap five-man stacks against Leicester here and hope that negative leverage, helps me out, because that's a lot of ownership for a Busch Stadium game.
5.2% top stack potential, 13% ownership share. I think writing off Kansas City and Cleveland from any of my five mans is going to make me different by default. I think that's kind of how you pay the rake today. Go ahead, put Sal Perez in some lineups that aren't as chalky. Play some Whit Merrifield with the upside that he has at 4K. Have the one-off of Carlos Santana or Hunter Dozier at 3.4K and 2.6K respectively. But I will not be playing the back half of that lineup. I will not be playing five mans. So help me God. Also, we just got De Niro. I'm excited about it. We'll do that to round out the show per usual. That might become our send-off. Like we just pawn for likes, and then we just go De Niro at the very end. I'm here for that. How about you? St. Louis, let's talk about them on the way out the door here, going up against Chris Bubich. What are we doing here with the Cards?
Yeah, Bubich, another contact guy with a little bit of power problems. And he's a guy outside of Kaufman. His home runs have shot up over almost 3.5. Maybe Busch will play a little bit more Kaufman-esque, but a lot of hard contact rate allowed. So I really like some cherry picks from this game to go after some bombs. Arenado, maybe Goldie, Tyler O'Neill, guys that we can neutralize extremely high K rates with. I'm a little bit more compelled to take some shots on the Cardinals because they're only 8% owned, but that's still like fifth most on the slate. So a lot of ownership in a pitcher friendly park here where we have some fun pivots. So the matchup is fine, but the field's going to be there as well.
Anything to round out this game, to round out the entire slate? Any final thoughts that you have?
No, I think it's a fun slate to be contrarian and still feel like you're getting some high end bats, and Tampa Bay, Cincinnati are kind of even where we're the top stack percentage. So you got to think about that. But the Cleveland KC negative leverage is amongst the highest I've seen all year.
Give me the De Niro. The people have asked. The people have responded.
you 200 likes, you. Mm-hmm. Not me, but you guys did it. Win all that money.
Oh my God, you're the best, my guy. Gundacker, I love you. Make my Sundays so fun, so breezy, easy like a Sunday morning. Okay, we don't have the rights to that. Either way, we've got our old pal EMac, your old pal EMac, maybe not mine. Terry's. I love EMac. I don't know why I said that. Terry McBride as well. Absolutely fantastic show coming up right after us. You guys don't have to go anywhere. Stick on this stream. I believe we also have coming up later, right after that. Do we have? Nope, that's it. That's all we have for the rest of the day. He's Gundacker. I'm Eric Lindquist. It was a blast. Best of luck tonight.
Oh, we're doing a Hall of Fame, right?
Sure.
Yeah, it's got Adams, $10,000.
There you go.
No, it's from Thursday.
Last week, right?
Yeah. I mean, I did a run sheet, just.
What on earth is that?
All right, Awesemo, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you with one Team McBee as we get ready for the Awesemo MLB Live Before Lock. This is a good one here, Terry. We've got just two lineups we're waiting on. The Boston Red Sox. I'm trying to figure out who may or may not be in there. Didn't JD Martinez, wasn't he a late scratch or a COVID scratch or something last night?
If he was, I missed that. I didn't play the evening slate. Oh no, I did play the evening slate. If he was, I missed it. Let's put it that way. He's not carrying a Q tag on the site that I'm looking at, though. I'm not sure what they're waiting on, actually. So if that was a piece of news, I might have missed that one.
He has been placed on the COVID list, third player this week for Boston.
Yeah, and Anthony Rizzo went on for my Yankees today, so that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, we just got the Boston lineup. Oh, perfect. JD Martinez, and now my whole computer system went down. Well, in that case.
Yeah, they have JD Martinez in.
All right. Well, we'll cut that out in post-production, but let's get started. Now we're waiting on just one.
Thank God this isn't live.
San Francisco Giants here. Not sure what they're waiting for, probably to figure out if Yastrzemski's hamstring is feeling okay, if they're going to go with Buster Posey here against the lefty and Brett Anderson. So we'll see what's going on there. They have Brandon Belt back. He had missed quite a bit of time, but he made his return. So could be a variety of people they're waiting on there, but that's the only one. Shouldn't be too tricky to adjust that one. It's a 2:10 start there in Milwaukee with the roof being closed today. Some exciting stuff here at Awesemo. We do have a new podcast. It's actually a new podcast channel out there on most podcast platforms, if not all of them. You probably find one out there where it's not on it, but it's called Bet You. It is nothing but college betting. It is by Matt Jageski. Boy, their spoonerisms are going in early today. It's with Ben Raza and Matt Jageski.
There you go.
Brutal. And I've had 3 coffees today already. So.
Ooh, you're one up on me. I've only had 2, although I consider this entire thing.
Yeah, perhaps it's wearing off, but I could use some more. But they talk about can Georgia take down Alabama? Which MAC teams are you going to be putting your money on? They have season-long bets for win totals, along with the postseason hardware, Heisman chatter, et cetera, et cetera. Check that out. But that's purely college football, and college football about to start, so that'll be fun. And then of course we got the 2 new YouTube channels. We have Awesemo Fantasy Football, almost 6,000 subscribers over there, and then we have the Awesemo Odds, where we're doing a ton of betting content out there. The Awesemo Fantasy Football channel has all sorts of season-long draft information as well as best ball information. Had a nice little ranking show there with Laffy battling it with back and forth with Steve Buzzard earlier this week, and I think he just did one with Alex. So check those out. But let's look at what we've got today at hand here. We've got some interesting stuff here. No real weather of concern. There's a little bit of weather in New York, in your area, but that should be clearing out. There's a little bit in Philadelphia. That should not be a problem. And then some late afternoon storms in the Midwest for the St. Louis area. And then tonight, Sunday night baseball is the Chicago White Sox versus the Cubs. And there's chance of rain for that one. That's not going to impact our main slate. A lot of good hitting environments here. We'll talk pitching, we'll talk stacks, a nice mix of things, but let's jump off first with Lance McCullers here. Probably my favorite pitcher. He has, over his last 2 seasons, Terry, he's got just over a 50% ground ball rate, a 28% strikeout rate. Usually you don't see that particular combination for pitchers. Does a good job of limiting power, occasionally gets into trouble with some of the walks. but he is someone I think that will be starting off the majority of my lineups today. How are you feeling about Mr. Lance McCullers here?
I like him. I don't think I'm that enthusiastic about him. I've got him 4th on my board. Looks like he's 3rd on both sites overall on the top pitchers tool. Ranking out well by comparison to some of the other starters that we've got. Ranks right in comparison with Molly and Wheeler up toward the top of the board there. He's drawing a little bit more ownership than his probability of success on the FanDuel slate. A little bit more than that on the DK slate as well, but he's certainly in the mix. It's not like he's crazy overowned. And I agree, he's definitely one of the premium pitchers on this slate. It's a few points from him to the top 3 guys on my board. So like I said, I've got him 4th, but overall pitching well, 28.2% strikeout rate over 104 and a third innings, only allows a 5.4% barrel ball rate. 41.3% hard hit is a little concerning. 90.3 mile an hour average exit velo is concerning. He's also got an 11.6% walk rate. I know they just talked about that on the last show, but when you're giving away too many free passes, it starts to get a little bit concerning. He's good enough to get himself out of jams with the strikeouts, and there are a ton of strikeouts in this Twins lineup, which is why I think he's probably going to give you a safe start here. But it's also the situation where 1-2 free passes and a long ball, and all of a sudden he's got a lot of work to do to make his way back to a respectable score, something that's going to compete with some of these other guys where I expect them to be. So I like it. I think the pricing is basically fair on both sites for him. So I don't mind getting there by any means, and I will have some of them, but I don't know if he's going to be my number 1.
All right. Well, let's see if we can find your number 1. Could it be Zach Wheeler, 10-4 good buddy over there on DraftKings? Nobody's going to get a CB joke. Nobody. You probably don't even get that one. There you go.
I think, come on, everybody's been in a car and on a long road trip and known about truckers and stuff. And it's
I think that ended with anybody born after 1989. Jordan, are you aware of CB radios? No.
All the ham radio operators and CB radio enthusiasts in the crowd, hit the thumbs up.
There we go. The Citizens Band Radio. All right, we've got Zach Wheeler, 10-4 on DraftKings, 10,700 on FanDuel, 49 on Yahoo. Is he going to be your top pitcher of the day?
By about 0.6 FanDuel points, I have Zach Wheeler on the top of the board in my projections. He's also the top of the board in Alex's on the top pitcher tool. I always feel really good about these projections when those things come together like that. I like him better on the FanDuel slate, 16% ownership, 17%, somewhere around there. For 10-7, you're paying up to get to him, and you're paying up a pretty decent amount over the rest of the competition. But what I love about Wheeler is he gives you so much depth, so much reliability at the quality start, at the win bonus, which plays huge on the FanDuel slate. Less so on the DK slate, where he's also drawing over 50% ownership. So he starts to get a little bit concerning there. That said, I think he's still the safest starter and probably the guy who's going to give you the big upside score here anyway. Going up against the Mets lineup, 24.2% strikeout rate on the average in that lineup that's confirmed for today. Wheeler, in addition to the depth, 147 innings and 22 starts. He leads baseball in innings pitched. The second best guy is Chris Bassett, who's like 3 innings behind, but did it in 1 additional start. So Wheeler just gives you immense depth, but he's also got a 29.1% strikeout rate. He only walks 5.6% of hitters, excellent 2.82 xFIP, 12.4% induced swinging strikes, just a 4.5% barrel ball rate, 29.1% hard hit. He's doing everything well this season. So he's really suppressing the power marks on the other side. Love everything about the spot for Wheeler, except for maybe the DK ownership.
All right. Continuing on down, we've got Max Fried. He's coming in at 8,800 on DK, 8,000 even on FanDuel, 39 on Yahoo. Sort of interesting that the Nationals, I bet against them last night. I had a free $10 bet on a certain sports book with the initials DK. And I also had a 50%, whatever you call it, a promo, boosting the odds by 50%. Anything this weekend for the Nationals in Atlanta. And the Nationals came back and won in the ninth. Some rookie catcher hit a 3-run home run, imploded. They won 3-2. It's like, really?
Baseball, man. That's baseball.
Gosh, it was looking good all game. It was looking. I will say,
people probably just don't bet on this sport, That's
it's hard to bet on baseball. It truly is. I can get behind the betting on the strikeouts, but goodness, I thought this would be a nice one. Sadly, it's not. But we've got Max Fried going today against the Nationals here. The interesting thing about the Nationals lineup, it's bad. It's so bad. Luis Soto has missed. Pardon me,
Juan
Soto.
You got ahead of yourself on Luis Garcia.
Luis Soho from 1995 Mariners played for your Yankees. Yeah.
World champion Luis Soho. Thank you very much on the New York Yankees.
Yes, indeed. In any event, Juan Soto, no relation, is not in the lineup today. So we're down to Josh Bell. Ryan Zimmerman does get a nice matchup against a lefty here. And then Yadiel Hernandez is batting fifth. He is 2,200 on DK. Everybody after that is basically replacement level or worse. How do you feel about Max Fried?
Yeah, I wrote about Max today. He's a guy who's been projecting fairly well for me through a lot of the season. Some of it is remnants of some of last year's data that's still lingering in the model given the short season last year and everything. But overall, he's not been as sharp this season for limiting power upside, limiting contact. But I think in this spot against this lineup, he's got a really good chance of going through this team clean a few times. 97 2/3 innings over 18 starts, 24.3% strikeout rate. Walks are a little up at 8%, 10.9% swinging strike rate with a 28.5% CSW. You'd like to see the CSW a little bit higher for a pitcher with his kind of a profile. That said, limiting hard hits to 34.9%, average exit velo 87.1 miles an hour, 7.3 barreled balls, maybe a little on the higher side than you'd want, but 6.8 degree average launch angle. Doesn't play to home run trajectory, is very good at suppressing power, and there's just not a lot, like you just ran through, there's just not a lot of power, not a lot of major upside, no real threats in that Nationals lineup on the other side, and a bunch of guys with well over 20% strikeout rates. So I just love the spot here for Max as well. He only costs $8,000 on FanDuel. He's drawing 40% ownership over there. So I don't know what that's going to do to my ownership shares once I put it through the filter. I suspect that it's going to cut me to well under the field, but I do like the spot in just an ownership vacuum. I think he's more interesting on DK where he's pulling still ownership, but 33% against a two-pitcher slate at 8,800. I think he makes a sharp SP2 play over there.
All right. Continuing on down the list, Tyler Mahle, not having a good season. He does get a matchup with the Pirates today. However, he's just been garbage, I think.
Then why didn't you trade him to me at the deadline when I wanted him in our dynasty league?
Because I'm playing for the future, my friend.
Yeah, because he's signable.
I have an incredible pitching staff. This is a lost season. Heck, there was chatter last night about people dropping Cody Bellinger in some main event contests, which is crazy. How does the 2019 NL MVP bat 8? I don't know. They have a loaded lineup, but yeah, it's now. Look, we're not even talking about games on the slate. But back to Tyler Mahle, it's an Giants lineup. Yeah, we do have the Giants lineup. Everybody I mentioned about potentially being out is out. There we go. Enough for the Giants. But over here with Tyler, it's a mess. I don't know what to do. I'm going to take it half of whatever the field has because I still think he's a talented pitcher, but this is just an absolute lost season for him.
What are we basing this on? Because I'm seeing a pitcher with 116 2/3 innings and over 22 starts with a 27.9% strikeout rate, a 3.89 xFIP. Yeah, the whip is up at 1.24, but that's not tragic. It's higher than you'd want, but it's not in the 1.4s, 1.5s. 9.1% walk rate, definitely higher than you'd want, but a 12.1 induced swinging strike rate, 29.5% CSW is right around league average. 7.6 barrel balls is a little high, but 35.2 hard hit rate, 88.7 mile an hour average exit velo. I don't think he's pitching all that badly. I think he's pretty sharp here, and he's going up against the Pirates team that has increased their strikeout rate significantly. They dropped from second best in baseball against right-handed pitching to the middle of the league now with like a 23 and change rate. The confirmed lineup looks like it's at a 26% strikeout rate against both hands. So there's plenty of upside here, and they're super limited in terms of their offensive ability, their upside for power, their run creation, everything else. They're toward the bottom of baseball. I think Mahle not only is pitching relatively well this season, I think he's in a great spot here. So I'm going to actually be pretty excited if I'm over the field on Mahle on the FanDuel slate. He's only at 14.4% ownership, 8,400. On DK at 9,800, 27% ownership, I can see an undercut being a good play.
Okay. I'm looking at it, one with the DK lens, and two, not so fast, my friend. How many in his last 10 games, how many times has he been over 18 DK points, as Gundacker likes to say?
Probably none. You know, I have
once.
Okay.
Once.
Okay.
That's it. I need upside. I don't see upside. Now, he did face the Pirates previously this season. He did get him for 7 strikeouts, allowed just 1 earned run, sort of lucked out on it because it was on a home run and he had 4 walks that game, but he put up 23 fantasy points. That I would be happy with, but we've only seen that once in his last 10 starts and not in his last 7. Now, to be fair, he did score 17.9 or 17.8 in 3 of those starts. So 18, little bit of an arbitrary cutoff there, but nonetheless.
And look, some of that is coming from run creation and things that are a little bit out of his control. Overall, 3.86 ERA, 3.88 xFIP, 3.74 xERA. So he's pitching. He is basically what we're seeing. 2.89 BABIP. So yeah, he's struggled with a few too many runs scoring, maybe not hitting the overall strikeout upside in some of the recent starts. But we know the upside is there. And just looking through the game log, 5 strikeouts last time out. He had a 2 strikeout start before that against the Cubbies, which is weird. But then 5 strikeouts, 8 strikeouts, 6, 7, 7, 8, 12, 6, 8, 8. I mean, going down the list, he's still getting swing and miss. He's still completing 5, 6 innings in most of these starts. So as long as he can avoid some runs, which I think against this Pirates team is relatively easy to do, I think he's got upside here.
All right. Baseball. You know what? Regardless of what happens today, we still won't know the answer of who was right on their decision or not. So
That's right.
That's the beautiful thing about baseball. It's a sprint of a marathon.
Whatever happens today is meaningless to the overall argument.
Good times. Good times. All right. We have all the lineups in. So we've got the Awesemo projections are all set up there. I'm going to start uploading and having some fun here. If you guys want to get in on those Awesemo projections yourself, you can use the promo code MLB Live before lock and get 25% off a full 1 week all access pass at Awesemo. You're going to want to jump in on that because we have NFL preseason starting out and it is going to be some fun. There are lots of showdown slates for this. Now it's the interesting thing about NFL preseason, it's not like it once was where there was a gigantic edge. Things have changed from 5 years ago until now. There really won't be a dress rehearsal. There are only 3 preseason games this season instead of 4 because there are 17 regular season games instead of 16. And we also know that even those dress rehearsals have been getting down to maybe just the first half of playing all the starters together. So for any team that has a lot of veterans or eyes on the postseason, they're really not going to be playing a lot of their key players. That will open up some things for other players, but there's a reason those other players are playing. They're cannon fodder and they're not that great, but we still have projections for it. It's the first time we're offering that. They worked out quite nicely for those of you utilizing them. They were free on Thursday, so that was a lot of fun. So it's kind of the game within the game here, but you get part of that as your 1 week all access pass. So again, MLB Live before lock gets you everything 25% off 1 week. Awesemo premium content. All right, Terry. Last guy I'm really interested in on pitching. Now, Michael Wacha didn't quite make the cut for me. Jorge Lopez, he's a bit of a joker, a trickster. Some would say a comedian. Get it? Jorge Lopez. I see what I did there. That was for you, Gundacker, if you're still watching. But Luis Gil. Now, here's an interesting guy. Really should be probably a reliever, getting a chance to be a starter. Has an impressive fastball, but his secondary pitch is kind of lacking. And he needs to work on them. Control, also a little bit lacking. Did you know he made his minor league debut at age 17?
I did not know that. No, I didn't.
He's 23 now. I believe he came up with Minnesota at first, and he was part of the Jake Cave trade, if I remember correctly from researching him this morning. And he made 1 start. I want to say it was on Tuesday against Baltimore. 6 shutout innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. He's going against the Mariners. The Mariners, well, they're not bad, but they're not good. Their offense seems to come with a lot of timely hitting and not a lot of volume. Hence their winning record with a massive, like minus 50 run differential. So they're not overly scary. If he can just navigate, the Hanigers, the Seagers of the lineup, I think he's going to be okay. I like him as a second pitcher on both DK and Yahoo. How do you feel about him on FanDuel? You're getting quite a discount today. I think he's 7,100 over there, 65 on DK, and I want to say like 32 on Yahoo.
Yeah, and doesn't seem like he's drawing the ownership on DK that I thought he would be, given that nice start that he had the other day, given the general quality of the opponent. The Mariners are I know their record is fine, and this is actually a big series for the Yanks in terms of the AL wild card, but the Mariners, to your point, are not that good a hitting team. And this kid is fairly sharp. He gave us a very nice start the other day, like you mentioned. He's not projecting great for me just because I assume I didn't even check it because I just changed it manually. I assume that the innings are not correct in my model here. But for 6,500 on the DK slate at only 12% ownership, I think that's a little bit light by the field. And then 7,100, I don't know what anybody's paying attention to on FanDuel. Under 1% ownership, that's an oddball spot to me. I was hand building before the show after I got done writing my tournament strategy article and just started putting some lineups together. And I got to a really nice stack with a 4-3-1 on FanDuel that had Gill in the starting pitching spot, and put together two of our premium stacks with the best hitters from those lineups, not really sacrificing much. He opens up a lot of possibility on this FanDuel slate. So I really like him. Like I said, he doesn't project great for me, but Alex's projection is basically what I'm just using. It's like a 25-point FanDuel projection, which definitely at that price would put him in play in terms of the rest of my board. If I took that projection and put him on my FanDuel board, he'd be like my 5th or 6th highest projected starter overall. It's not a great pitching slate after the first few options that we discussed. So I'm happy to get to a cheap and under-owned Luis Gil here.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm landing as well. If we go look at he started out in AA this season, and then he moved up to AAA.
He's been stretched out too. He's been starting in the minors.
He's been starting, but if you look at a lot of his starts, he's never gone really more than 5 innings. Most of the time, he goes about 80 or so pitches. I'm comfortable with that being the number today, somewhere between 80 and 90. Perfectly fine with it. A lot of times we see, starting, he's in Yankee Stadium. I mean, granted, this is his second start, but still, now he's had time to think about it. Now, it's like, oh man, here I am. Probably wasn't going to be here without all of the Yankees dealing with COVID and various other maladies with some of their pitchers. So
this kid might be starting game 2 of a playoff game now. You never know at this point.
Yeah, who knows what's happening at this point with the illnesses, but it's something that I like to call them, and I've heard you use the term before too, stressor pitches, right? It's sort of like when you're throwing the no-hitter, when it's playoff baseball, it's like, oh my God, every pitch counts and you're overthinking it, all of it. It's just like everything's happening at once. That there's a possibility of that happening. So I'm good between 80 and 90 pitches. Totally fine with that. I hope, if he makes it 4 innings, even 5 innings, I'd be thrilled. I'm hoping for 5, 6 strikeouts. That's what I'd really like to get at this price point, give up a couple runs, but I'm not too concerned about how far he's going to go into the game because I just like the price point.
Yeah, and I tell you what, that Mariners lineup, 25.2% strikeout rate, 3rd worst in baseball against right-handed pitching this season, 8% below average against in run creation, 157 collective ISO. There's not a lot there for the Mariners. They hit some home runs, but 3.73% home run rate. It puts them above average, but not one of like the very, very top teams. So I'm not really sweating the spot. I think, if we get 90 pitches out of him, he could easily give us a nice DFS start. Could the Mariners accidentally hit 3 home runs in Yankee Stadium off of this kid in the first 2 innings? Absolutely. So there's always that risk, but I think it's at least a good GPP play.
All right. Is there anybody else that's popping up for you in the pitching pool? Could it be a Michael Wacha? We're going to say bad things shortly about Pat Corbin and his ability to who is he going to throw to in the home run derby next season? That's the real question. But what are you thinking about the rest of the pitchers?
I would be happy if I didn't get a single other guy on this slate. I'd actually be fine with it. There's really not that much here. I mentioned in my tournament strategy article that in the past, we've gotten some decent results from all of Yusei Kikuchi, Kenta Maeda, and Hyunjin Ryu. All 3 of them are in terrible spots today, going up against the Yankees, the Astros, and the Red Sox, respectively. So those guys are relatively off my board, despite having some reasonable quality. I think Johnny Cueto, you could maybe squeeze a reasonable start out of against Milwaukee. Not my favorite lineup in baseball. Plenty of strikeouts there. Only 7,500 on DK. If I'm grabbing anybody from the rest of the pool, it might be Johnny and it might be Zach Plesac going up against Detroit. Those are just the 2 spots where, just based on opponent more than based on pitcher quality, I might allow some of them to creep in around the edges. But by and large, I just want the guys that we talked about off the top. And those would just only be matchup-based type starts. Did you know that the Detroit Tigers lead baseball in triples this year?
I did not know that.
Yeah, got that off the scoreboard at Yankee Stadium yesterday.
Oh, how was the game?
It was a blast. Came back late to win. Got to see that Mitch Haniger play in right field where he just kind of fell down trying to catch a fly ball was one of the worst plays I've seen in live in quite a long time. And it was the difference maker for the comeback. So that was nice.
Even Giancarlo Stanton was feeling a little mortified by that play.
Yeah, I think so. Stanton gets too much flack for his play in the outfield. He's a serviceable outfielder. He just gets hurt when he plays out there. That's his biggest issue.
Yeah, well, he looks like a linebacker. So
that too, yeah.
All righty.
So him, Judge, and Gallo are going to in the outfield together. That's going to be the biggest. I think the biggest outfield in baseball history. It would have to be.
Yeah, that's. I can't. They are middle the linebacking core for the Jets. Is what they're going to be.
Two of them very, very good outfielders, though. Gallo underrated outfielder.
Very underrated.
Judge is a terrific outfielder. Did you see that throw that Judge made the other day to nail the guy at second base? Oh, God. He's so good. Such an
yeah. All right. So let's say some bad things about some of the pitchers we have coming up here. Let's see. Who do I want to start with? Well, we are sort of talking about Yusei Kikuchi a little bit here. So it's not a big implied run total for the Yankees. However, their prices are just phenomenal over on Yahoo. So if you guys are playing over there, you can get Stanton at 13, Judge 15, Gallo at 16, LeMahieu at 11. Those, I don't think you need to go for a full stack there, but those prices allow you to get Coors Field, which is on the Yahoo main slate, as well as some top end pitching and have some phenomenal hitters here. Now, Yusei Kikuchi, actually a decent pitcher. It's just that going against that trio of outfielders plus two-time batting champion DJ LeMahieu is not the easiest of spots. Kikuchi has also allowed home runs in each of his last 7 games. 2 of them were 2 home run games. So the power's there. I think the opposing team's power is there. I really think we're just kind of doing a little home run hunting. I don't think he's going to completely melt down. The Seattle bullpen is marginal. It's not horrible. They didn't help themselves by trading away Kendall Graveman, but when Kendall Graveman's your best pitcher and your de facto closer, is it really that good of a bullpen? I don't know. They just outright released the other guy who was going to be their closer at the beginning of the year. I can't think of his name, but yeah, Mariners are kind of a whole lot of
I didn't realize that. I got to drop.
How are you feeling? Pardon? Should I drop him off my team? I think he's still on my roster in the Dynasty League. We'll have to. We'll talk Dynasty transactions afterwards. I have some questions. Off air, not to bore anybody here. What do you want to do here with the Yankees? Do you think full stack is there? Or are you okay with the 3-man format? In Yahoo, when I say full stack, you can put 6 on a team there. DK, it's 5. FanDuel, it's 4. I think 3 or 4 is about where I cap out with these guys.
I wouldn't mind any of those constructions, honestly. You can run into the sequential hitting and strikeouts issue with the Yankees if you end up stacking all 6-man deep, but I would certainly be looking at 4-mans, 5-mans on the FanDuel and DK slates. I'm mostly about full stacks, particularly when we're talking about a 10-game slate with plenty of room on it. So that's how I would be attacking it. I wrote up the Yankees in the tournament strategy article. I think they're significantly underowned on both sites. They're not priced through the roof like some of the other teams like the Reds are. So you can get to, on the DK slate, it looks like only Judge over 5,000, which is totally reasonable. Only Judge over 4,000 on the FanDuel slate. On FanDuel, everybody on the team owned under 3%. On DK, everybody under 5%. This is the massively powerful New York Yankees lineup that we're talking about, going up against a pitcher who allows a 9.7% barrel ball rate, a 44.1% hard hit rate, 91.1 mile an hour average exit velo. Keeps it down a little bit with a 7.2 average launch angle, but he's also walking 8.2% of hitters. He puts guys on base. The Yankees, for all their strikeout issues, have plenty of walks and patient hitters in this lineup as well. They swing and miss, but they swing and miss because they swing for power, not because they're bad or not discerning hitters. So we've got DJ LeMahieu, 10.2% walks, Aaron Judge, 11.7. Joey Gallo leads the league in walk rates among qualified hitters for all those Gallo critics out there at 18.7%. So you don't sweat his 32.9% strikeout rate. It continues on, 13% for Stanton, 10.2 for struggling Gleyber Torres, 12% even for Jonathan Davis over 91 plate appearances. There's just a lot of ability to get on base, drag this out against Kikuchi. I think they've got home run upside. I like this spot for the Yankees. When they're going under-owned, I'm happy to jump on it. Not even from a homer perspective. I just think the field's making a mistake here.
All righty. Continuing on here, and I hat tip to all the puns in the YouTube chat for you say Kikuchi, I say Kakachi.
Yeah.
That's very good. That's very good.
That runs through my head at least once a day when he's pitching.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's not as much when I say it, but when I hear other people say, you say Kikuchi, I'm like, I got it. We got it. Here's another fun name, Chris Boobich. Somebody said boobs. All right. He's horrible. Well, not completely horrible. He's actually been better over his last few starts. However, he does allow home runs, which is a bit of a problem. In June, 8 home runs allowed in only 18 2/3 innings, a 9.16 ERA. Did you know that he has 3 games where he has allowed at least 3 home runs? Yikes. Gave up 2 against the White Sox in the last one. Home run call of the day. He's not batting leadoff, but Tommy Edman batting 5th. There's my home run of the day. I think you can put Tyler O'Neill in there. And of course, there's a couple other guys in between those two that are pretty good at hitting the lefties. That would be, what's his name? Paul Goldschmidt. And wait for it, Nolan Arenado, one of the best in the game. Indeed. How are you feeling about the Redbirds? And it's going to be 90 degrees with 60% humidity. A little bit of a breeze out there to left field. Sounds like home run conditions to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And several of those hitters that you mentioned, Goldschmidt, Arenado, and O'Neill in particular, kind of the obvious guys there, are drawing significant home run marks in my model here. Edman certainly is on the board in that regard as well. Although I would point out 6 home runs and a 119 ISO on the season, 19 stolen bases gives you plenty of production for DFS purposes, for fantasy purposes. Only 2,800 slots in second base and outfield. So I really like Tommy Edman there. Would be a sneaky home run call. Paul DeJong, nice little home run mark for me in the 7 spot as well. Not drawing very much ownership at all. Slots in at shortstop. Provides you a decent amount of pop there. For me, it's really about the top 5 hitters in this lineup, and then you can mix and match the Baders and DeJongs of the world. I don't really need much Andrew Knizer off the is it Knizer or Knizer? I would imagine it's Knizer with a silent K at the front, but I don't actually know.
Oh, I had I was still looking at a placeholder lineup. My apologies. Arenado and O'Neill are not between Edman and who's my other guy that I said? No, Edman and O'Neill. They're 2, 3, 4, 5, so that's totally fine. They've when Yadier Molina is not in the lineup, so that when you said DeJong batting 9, I'm like, I had him batting 8 or batting 7. I mean, they kind of shuffled that around a little bit there. Lots of righties though. Tough day for Bubic, I think. Yeah, for sure. Bubic super targetable on this slate. In my BBB minus K metric, the one that's for sequential hitting and run creation, his 11.3% walk rate, his 9.8% barrel ball rate, and 19.8% strikeout rate come together for a negative 1.3. Anything below a positive 10 starts to become targetable. Once you get into those negative numbers, you're super targetable. Also, a 41.3% hard hit rate on the season. Major upside for the Cardinals here, and they're not getting enough ownership. All right. Reminder, I think we're the last show of the day, but not to worry. You got the Awesemo NFL channel. The Awesemo Fantasy NFL YouTube channel has all of our NFL preseason content, drafting content. You get the fun there for best ball drafts. We have regular draft information there as well. We have a whole bunch of articles over there at Awesemo Fantasy Football as well. All of our sister sites contributing across the board there, so you can check that out. We also have NASCAR today. It's I think in the 3:00 hour is when that race is starting, and we have the show yesterday. It's already in the can from Phil and Jason Floyd. Breaking down the NASCAR race. So you guys can check that out. Again, weather, a little bit of potential late afternoon thunderstorms in the St. Louis area. Chicago could be a little tricky tonight for Sunday night baseball. And then Philly and New York should not be too much of an issue. Did they post some games starting in a delay? I've lost that news. I thought Cleveland. I had not seen that. If they did, I missed it. Where are you? I'm sure he's hanging out somewhere nearby. He'll be able to let us know. I think it was his tweet, but let's see. So let's look at some of our other offenses here. Oh, here's Kareem says he works right across the street from the stadium in St. Louis. Feels like it's 102. It's sweltering and super humid. There you go. Boots on the ground, probably flip-flops on the ground. If it's that warm, I'm not wanting to wear boots.
Depends on what his job is.
Oh, good point.
A lot of jobs, flip-flops not so appropriate.
Good point. But none of the games should have any issues for postponements at this point in time. All right.
Yeah, it's clear here. It's a nasty, hazy, overcast day. You're looking outside the window, but there's no rain or anything coming down, so I wouldn't worry about the game in the Bronx.
Some other offenses. So Jorge Soler and Ozzie Albies going against Pat Corbin. Yes, please. Perhaps some Stanton and Judge. We already mentioned that. We've got the Guardians going against Willie Peralta, or Wiley Willie Peralta, as some people would like to say. Blue Jays going against Garrett Richards. The Devil Rays. Yes, we can call them the Devil Rays. That's what their name was. We're going to have one future team in the Guardians. We're going to have one retro name with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays going against Jorge Lopez. What do you like here? The world is your oyster, Terry.
Yeah, the Braves look like a fantastic spot going up against Pat Corbin. On the season, Corbin's 17.8% strikeout rate, 4.47 xFIP, 1.44 whip, despite a 7.5% walk rate. That's higher than you'd like, but not like crazy bad. He's just allowing too much contact, allowing too many guys on base. 10.5% induced swinging strike rate, but only a 27.2% CSW, so he's not throwing enough strikes. 9.1% barrel ball rate, 40.3% hard hit. Yeah, it is just over for Pat Corbin, so don't roster him as a pitcher. Fire away with the Braves. They look really under-owned on the FanDuel slate. Everybody in the top end of the lineup, under 4,000, also under 5% ownership, until you get to Adam Duvall, who costs 3,200 kind of inexplicably and is owned at 15%. So the top four hitters in the Braves lineup is a pretty easy go-to stack for FanDuel. Just roster those guys in order: Albies, Soler, Swanson, and Riley. I kind of like that. I think Jock Peterson could be sneaky, lefty. He's been bad through his career in terms of power all year. Through his career in terms of power for lefties. And before this season had been bad in his triple slash, but his triple slash is actually quite nice this season against lefties. So he's been focusing on contact. His ISO's way down against lefties, but he's been getting on base and actually displaying a little bit of a hit tool against left-handed pitching this year. So for 2,900, I think he could be a little sneaky. Don't expect a major home run, typical Jock Peterson upside, but at that price in this lineup, I kind of like that, getting to him down there as a sneaky play.
All right. Are you ready for ridiculous stat time?
Yes, please. Always. You know that.
Oh, did you know there's a Nelson Cruz who's a pitcher?
No. Are they going to start putting him on the slate with no differentiation in names like they did with Luis Garcia to screw up my sorting tool yesterday?
Doubtful. He is 48, so I'm assuming he is not going to be playing. Although technically Nelson Cruz, the hitter, could be 40.
He's over 48.
He's officially 41. It's like Julio Franco. I just dreamed that he would come out after retiring at age 45 and tell us he was really 50. I wanted that to happen so bad.
It would not have surprised me in the slightest. It wouldn't surprise me to find out that Nelson himself is several years older than we think. I think he's probably one of those guys who came over maybe with a little bit of a fib on the old birth certificate at some point. But the guy still murders baseball, so I love rostering him when I can. In this Tampa lineup too, I mean, there's just major upside going up against Jorge Lopez here. That said, I saw. Go ahead.
The Sean V obscure stat of the day. I've got it right here.
Oh, I stepped on it. My fault.
It's Camden Yards, Nelson Cruz, triple slash, 284, 353, 510 slugging in 504 at-bats in Camden Yards. Monster. Of course, he had 5 at-bats yesterday, or 5 plate approaches yesterday.
Probably only pales in comparison to Gleyber Torres and his numbers against the Cardinals. His entire career is based on facing the Orioles. But getting to that Rays lineup is kind of a no-brainer on this slate. The way I wrote it up in my article this afternoon was I just put a heading for the Reds and the Rays, just saying this is not repeat content because these teams have been at the top of the board all weekend long and they're there again. They're massively owned on the FanDuel slate, the Tampa Bay Rays. Brandon Lau, the highest owned player, over 50%. Can that be right? Is he? Did I get that? Did I accidentally screw that up somehow? No. 53.2% ownership share for Brandon Lau. No hitter should be owned in half of all lineups on FanDuel, guys. Not
even Mike Trout.
Yeah, no
unless it's a short slate. And then
right. And I don't care if Brandon Lau hits 3 home runs today. That does not make that as an incorrect statement. On DK, these guys are a lot less owned. They're also a lot more difficult to afford, just like the Reds. So they're in very, very similar spots. I love the upside for both teams. They're difficult to get to. They're over-owned on FanDuel. They look good on the DK slate. That Brandon Lau ownership blows my mind. I don't know what you guys are doing out there, but that isn't right.
All right, Sean, Sean's asking if that was my stat. Well, you're always throwing out these obscure partial splits of guys hitting well on Thursdays after they come off the injured list if it's a day ending on Y. So there, I was looking because I've heard him say that he really enjoys hitting in Camden Yards. Those are good numbers. He actually has a better slugging percentage in Texas. Makes sense. A lot better. He pitched half his games there, and plus the weather in the summer is pretty high. But Camden Yards was right up there. He did play one season for the Orioles. In that, once upon a time, I think wasn't it for a hot minute, he was a Brewer. I think that's where he started his career. I can't remember. I haven't looked that information up in a while.
Yeah,
but
because
he played
it's ringing like a vague bell. Now I got to look.
Didn't he play for Detroit? Right. Obviously, Minnesota, Seattle, Baltimore for the year, Texas.
He played for Milwaukee. He never played for Detroit. He did start for Milwaukee.
Oh, he didn't play for Detroit?
Milwaukee directly to Texas, 1 year in Baltimore, 4 years in Seattle, and then 2 in Minnesota, and now with the Twins. Or now with the Rays, rather.
All right. Okay. Editors.
Was he in Detroit after a deadline?
I thought he was there for a hot minute, but I could be wrong.
No, it doesn't look. This is the only year where there's a 2 teams listing on FanDuel. So
yeah. He's been around for a long time, point being.
Indeed.
Let's put it this way. Had him on my team, American League only, 8-team rotisserie league, Terry. And I think we had just switched over to computers at that time when we're no longer hand scoring. I'm only being slightly facetious there, but he's been playing for a long time. All right, back to today's games. We got 20 minutes here until 17. We'll talk a little bit of the old Awesemo Hall of Fame here in just a second. But wrapping up, you want to throw out any of your home run calls of the day? Any other offensive situations that you want to take a look at here?
So I went a little chalky with the home run call. Well, actually not, because he's under-owned, in my opinion. So I went with Aaron Judge as my home run call in the column. I kind of like the spot. Judge just murders every baseball that he swings at unless he swings and misses. All of the Yankees are profiling pretty well for power, like we talked about. I'm getting very good power marks around the Red Sox primary bats as well. A little bit on the Indians, but they're getting a ton of ownership. One of the teams that's a little bit under-owned, I thought, if I'm remembering the board correctly, I'm on a different tab here, but I'm getting interesting power marks around the Baltimore Orioles. Austin Hayes, Trey Mancini among the top 10. So that's kind of interesting. They hadn't gotten all that much mention. Jorge Soler had a nice game yesterday. He's popping up toward the top of the board. Mitch Haniger popping up toward the top of the board on the other side of that Yankees game. If you want to go to a little bit of Seattle, you're basically playing for home run upside with that Seattle team, though. Vlad Guerrero seemed like he was going under-owned, at least on the FanDuel slate when I was looking for some one-offs to flag here, and I get a decent mark on him. I always get a decent mark on Vladdy. Multi-position eligibility on the FanDuel slate as well, so really like getting to that bat. And yeah, just some of the other guys from a lot of these teams. A lot of it, when you look at it, just the very top of the home run model, you get a lot of guys from common teams. So those are the teams I'm basically targeting for stacks, depending on where the ownership is. Like I won't have that much Rays just because of how heavily owned they are. Probably won't have that much Indians, despite them profiling fairly well in a matchup against Wiley Peralta, who you mentioned earlier. Peralta, negative 3.6 in the BBB minus K, one of the more targetable spots for sequential hitting and for run creation, 14.1% strikeout rate, 4.97 xFIP. He's super targetable, but you're getting an Indians lineup that fair amount of ownership up and down it on the DK slate. On the FanDuel slate, there's some concentration, but it's around the best hitters or around the guys that I want to get to. 40% ownership on Jose Ramirez. If you avoid Brendan Lau and Jose Ramirez on the FanDuel slate, you are setting yourself apart from like what 2/3 of the field, apparently. I mean, this is insane ownership on some of these individual hitters. So yeah, if you wanted to roster some Indians in a different way than the field, it would be like Miles Straw, Bradley Zimmer, Oscar Mercado, Owen Miller, and then what are we really doing? So I don't love getting to the Indians on the FanDuel slate either.
Never hear Owen without Throw Mama from the Train.
Owen!
All right.
Solid.
Awesemo Hall of Fame, guys. It is time to talk about the Awesemo Avatar. Go to awesemo.com/avatar avatar and download the Awesemo avatar, upload it onto the DFS site's Rocket out there. Finish top 3 in any contest. No ties. True top 3 with 5,000 people or more, and we will get you 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. I'm going to drop the link into the chat with all of the instructions here. We got a nice one here. Mr. Ship My Money just dancing around there in the NFL Showdown streets. $10,000 up top using the Awesemo projections. And look at that. Awesemo himself got third. Pretty solid there.
That's with those preseason projections that we're going to have up, huh?
They were free. They kind of paid for themselves there on Thursday, but definitely check that out. Use promo code MLB Live before lock to get yourself 25% off any 1 week package. Let's see. Shaky was not so shaky there. $25,000 for him in the MLB Super Knuckleball. Cruising on down, you got DC Skins. He was rolling it there as well. The MLB Minimax took that one down. Continuing along here, we have I'm going to butcher that name, Bread Senna. But he got $2,000 in golf. Look at that, all these different sports. And then a $6,000 hit here for Texas Advo in MMA. Pretty good night here across the board. I understand that Alex had a very nice night in MMA last night as well. I'm going to guess that Steve the Colt Buzzard did. He's been usually a stalwart in that sport as well. I went to bed about 10:30 last night, so I did not get to see all the final results, Terry. Very sad.
And I was not in those MMA tournaments. I'm not an MMA guy. Ooh,
not at all.
No, I prefer traditional boxing. If we're just like, what sport would I rather watch?
Oh, I don't watch them. I play the DFS part.
Well, yeah, and then I was going to say for DFS,
people beating the hell out of each other, unless it's girl fights. Girl fights on YouTube. Yeah, you have the hair pulling, all that.
So you're keeping girlfights.com and bumfights.com? Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh God. There probably is a site called girlfights.com.
I'm sure there are multiple sites called that with every final 3 letters you can think of. But for me, anytime I play MMA, if you ever see me doing well in a tournament, it is entirely thanks to the stuff that we have on the site because I don't know anything about it. But I love when I do realize that there's a slate coming and I do have time to jump in and build some lineups. I really like pulling up our top fighters tool because it gives me everything I need with probability of knockout, probability of being the top scorer, all those different metrics that go into it, plus our ownership, leverage, et cetera, et cetera. It's the same concept. So once you get data like that from the site, it's kind of easy to build lineups, even knowing nothing at all about the sport, which is me. So I do try and jump in when I think of it, but it's like PGA. It's the same thing. Every Wednesday night, I think, I got to remember to build lineups. And then by Thursday morning, I said, damn it, I forgot to build PGA lineups.
All right, let's talk, see if we got any questions coming in here. We got some bold predictions. Rodney Mills says 2 no-hitters today. Butthole Jenkins says Cedric Mullins hitting for the cycle. Cedric Mullins hitting for the cycle. That's pretty good as well.
Also bold.
So there we are. We've got those in there. The Paul DeJong dong of the day, because it's more fun to say DeJong instead of DeYoung. But hey, there we are. Who's your cash pitcher on the Blue site today? Who's your main pitcher? Shall we say?
I don't play cash.
Your safest.
Yeah, I mean the safest to me. The safest is Wheeler because even though you're paying up the most for him, I've got him projected the highest. Alex has him projected as the most likely to give you the best start, and he's the most likely to give us depth. Even if he drops a couple of runs, he's probably going to give us 6-7 innings, a great shot at the quality start, a good shot at the win. So I think he's the safest. But given that both Fried and Molly for me project similarly and are significantly lower priced, if I needed the savings to get to better bats in a cash game, I wouldn't mind going to either one of them. I'm comfortable with those guys.
All right. Michael Knack says Winker or Votto, can't seem to get both. Impressive call by Greg poking the bear once again, getting Joey Votto to hit a home run. After he besmirched his good name was when Votto went on that, 6 or 7 straight games with the home run. So.
Yeah, a guy who can I talked about it the other day, a guy who can put the bat on ball with the skill that Joey Votto has displayed throughout his entire career. This doesn't really surprise me when we see that he's clearly made a decision I'm going to be a home run hitter now. He's sacrificing a little bit of the hit tool. He's at 273 in the batting average. That's not really a Joey Votto number, but he's turning that acumen for putting bat on ball into home run upside. He's hitting a 50.7% hard hit rate this year, 15.7% barrel ball rate. and 23 home runs with a 287 ISO over 339 plate appearances. He has clearly made a change in what he does at the plate, and it's working out well in terms of the power upside. So yeah, major source of DFS run creation. Under 10% owned at 4,100 on the FanDuel slate, 13% owned at 5,800 on the DK slate. And yeah, it's hard to put them together with Jesse Winker because it's 5,800 and 5,900 respectively. I'm happy to go with either one. Winker squeezes slightly ahead in both my projection and my home run model, just probably based on the spot in the lineup. 2 spots ahead potentially gives you a little bit more of a potential for an extra plate appearance.
All right, I'm going to run through some of my pitching ownership here. I'm going, oh, what the heck? Let's just make it 40. 40% Fried, Wheeler, McCullers, 15% Tyler Mahle, sticking on brand, 30% Luis Gil, 10% Maeda, Ryu, Plesac, and then 5% everybody else. Let's see, 120, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. Don't get me to 240. I'm running 25% on every individual hitter that is out there, and I'm going to make some stacks here. Who's your stacks of the day? There's a lot of good offenses here, and we don't even have Coors Field on the 2 big sites.
Yeah, Coors has been fun with nobody going to it the last few days. It's been I talked about it on, I think it was Friday's show, and the Rockies went off for a ton of runs, and they were just super low owned. So those are the kind of sites where I like getting to Coors Field, but unfortunately, yeah, we don't have it today. Just looking at it, how it came up in the crunch, just real quick before I drop it into the sorting tool, I should have a ton of Braves. I should have a fair amount of Rays and Reds, but under the field probably, just given the heavy ownership we talked about. I'll probably be under the field on the Indians, although the Guardians, although they're up toward the top of the board here as well. Gonna definitely make sure I have a lot of Yankees, have a lot of Reds. So I'll probably take some Red Sox shares as well. I think they were going a little bit under-owned, and then just some mix and match on the rest of this stuff. But we'll see what comes up as I drop it into the sorting tool.
How are you feeling about KC going against Leicester? We didn't really talk about them.
They're hitting the board a little bit for me too here, actually. So we'll see where they come up for me when I drop it into the sorter. But yeah, you're going up against an absolute gas can of a pitcher at this point in his career. Leicester, 15% strikeout rate, 8.5% walks, 8.6% on the barrel balls, negative 2.1 on the BBB minus K, 39.4% hard hit, home run upside, sequential hitting upside for a team that is, I don't want to say good at sequential hitting, but they at least, they create runs with their legs a little bit. We've got a guy, Whit Merrifield, up at the top of the board, 29 stolen bases on the season. If Nicky Lopez manages to get on, he's got some wheels. 352 on base percentage for Nicky up at the top of the batting order, getting on base and generating some extra base potential with the stolen base ahead of hitters like Sal Perez, Carlos Santana, even Hunter Dozier, and maybe Edward Olivares finally comes through for me. He's been a low-owned guy that I've touted a few times, 226 ISO over just 55 plate appearances with 4 home runs. He's got a lot of power. He showed it through the minor leagues, 2,300 on the FanDuel slate, 2,100 on the DK slate, kind of maybe a sneaky little home run upside there. So I definitely like the Royals. They're not one of my focus stacks, but I definitely wouldn't mind getting to some of them. That said, I've got to export some lineups or I won't be getting to anything.
All right. Just checking it out. They're asking about is there going to be an NFL or a NASCAR show after this? No, because it's already been recorded. So what I'm going to do as soon as our show is over, and I talk to Terry about Dynasty League transactions, I am going to listen to the NASCAR show as I build out my NASCAR lineups. No slates off, Terry. That is the motto to live by.
You mean
while you're So I dabbled on the blue site yesterday. I did my 150 in the wiffle ball over there. My $7.50 well spent on FanDuel. For a moment I was in third, but I ended up losing. I lost like $3 yesterday. It's very sad.
Bummer. I was pulling for you. You had a good start there.
Had a good start. The random early runs in Pittsburgh for all teams helped me for a hot minute there. See some bigger numbers there, but it's fun. I like that the sites have the ability to let us try things out at a lower cost. Makes sense. Absolutely. Much nicer. Let me see here. Looking at some of our top stacks in the top stack tool, we got 5 minutes left until lock. You guys definitely want to hit process on your optimizers because they are going rather slow right now. Tampa Bay looking like the best team to be the top stack. They're also somehow under-owned, which is a little bit of a shock to me. You've got Cincinnati looking like they are the second best team to be the top stack, and they are slightly overowned. A lot of people going to Cleveland.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, Cleveland was super, super heavy in the ownership. And like I said, they were pulling good marks in terms of where they were coming up in my home run model and everything. But just getting to them when they're that heavily owned is a little bit of a concern. So,
and Atlanta, well, underrepresented in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a team definitely a focus stack for me that I'm trying to make sure that I get to in here. I'm just too many guys are coming up weirdly here. Can you talk to the people for a moment while I try and get
Absolutely. Absolutely. We got 3 minutes left. Terry's doing a little scramble. I'm doing a little scramble, but it's all fun. It's only money. That's the thing you got to remember. I will say the blue site does tend to load a lot slower than DraftKings, which was a bit of a trouble spot for me yesterday. But I was able to prevail. Worst case scenario, when you're running in your mad scramble, you can always just do 5-man stacks instead of trying to double stack on a DK and at least get your lineups in. You can also skip the first game. It's a little harder to do on Sunday with everything kind of starting in those first 4 minutes, but that is another way to buy yourself just a hint of time on this. All right, let's see. I did not get to QC my stuff here. Let's quickly. Oops, right. That's the wrong button.
Yankees, Braves, Red Sox at the top. Don't care what the rest of this is. We're going with it. It's gonna take it as we get it here.
All right, I'm basically looking the same here. A lot of Atlanta, a lot of Cincy, a lot of Tampa Bay, a lot of St. Louis. No, I'm not getting to the Yankees. I'll live with it.
No,
it doesn't like the 4-mans or probably the 5-mans, which is what I kind of had to do there. But now I'm going to upload mine. It's only a couple $100, but I worked hard here. Why do I have Shogo in my lineups? I should have zeroed him out. Not enough power.
We got so much time. It's only 102 and change. I thought we were like 104.30 or something the way you were talking.
No. Well,
I can slow my heart down. I actually only have like 50 lineups in today, so I don't have a major one. I've been trying to cut it to 50 every time I'm on a live before lock. It's just a little bit more manageable for me.
Well, I'm down to one show a week, so I get into some bad habits here. I'm not used to trying to multitask in that last hour, but I'm uploaded. So hopefully everybody else is uploaded as well. Hit that like button. I haven't asked for that yet, but do that, and definitely subscribe to the channel. We have all sorts of goodness coming your way throughout every day, actually. And tomorrow we're gonna start it all up again. We have the MLB DFS strategy show is going to be on at 11. We've got the FanDuel NFL DFS Week 1 pricing special. That's going to be with Laffy and Ben. We're going to have some video on demand coming out for college futures for the Big 12. We're going to have some prize picks out there. Of course, we've got 3 or 4 other fantasy football content items dropping. We just recorded the fantasy football segment for rookie wide receivers with Laffy and Matt. So you guys can get that hot off the press as well. And then, of course, tomorrow we'll have the deeper dive and the live before lock taking you down the home stretch for MLB. I like how everybody's voice changed after upload.
Have you done any season-long football drafts yet?
I like the slow drafts. So I've got, I think, 30 under my belt. I've only played on DK so far. I'm going to change over to Yahoo. And then, of course, you go to Underdog Fantasy. If you use the promo code Awesemo when you deposit at Underdog Fantasy, they'll give you $25 free if you put in $25.
Not bad.
Check that out. Tomorrow, it's a little weird. We have a 6 o'clock game and then 3 games at 8 and 1 at 10. So we will have to see. I'm going to assume the sites are probably going to go with the 8 o'clock as their start time for their main slate. So everything will be an hour later than expected or than what we're used to.
I didn't notice that. A little extra time during the day. That's helpful. Yeah. I like that. Don't mind that.
And then, there's just the 4 games. So I wonder, it's kind of odd that they have so few, unless this was kind of probably a built-in schedule catch-up day. I know they put in a few throughout the season just where they wanted some flexibility in the event, that we're in the middle of year 2 of a global pandemic. All right.
Yeah.
That takes us up to lock here. Any final thoughts before we get on out of here?
Well, just real quick, the reason I asked you about the fantasy football, if you've done any season longs, I haven't done any yet. And I just wanted to give a little plug to our fantasy football kit because I love drafting with that thing because it's based on Alex's model and he runs out the simulations and everything. And now we've got Matt Kajeski adding his input into it. The projections and everything that we're basing our rankings on are going to be different than your ADP sites, your Fantasy Schmoes and these kind of sites that give you aggregated different ADPs from some of these collected sources. We're going to be different, and we're intending to be different. So it's giving you a different look coming out of your draft, completely different angle. It's not wildly where we've got a bunch of tight ends telling you to take them in the first round, but we give you a different look at it. And it's a powerful weapon to bring to your draft. So I really like our draft kit. It's inexpensive and it's very easy to upload and to work with. So I'm looking forward to doing a few. I'm going to fire some up this week.
Yep. So I'm dropping the link into Awesemo Fantasy Football. It's awesemo.com/fantasy-football, but there's the link. You can get it. Go to awesemo.com across the top. You get Awesemo Odds, the Odd Podcast Network, Side Action, Odds Shopper. All of our different sister sites are linked up there. But there's a lot of free content on there. We also have a fair amount of paywall content, season-long draft kits. Of course, we've got best ball rankings. That's what I've been utilizing a fair amount. And you're right. Our information is going to be a little bit different than the groupthink that is out there in the rest of the industry. That is helpful because right now with and hat tip to everybody that's logging through that, and best ball is definitely growing. And I didn't have enough time to actually be the content producer for season-long drafts this year, which I have been for the last couple of years. So I am consuming our content and I'm keeping tabs on what we are saying along with what some other people are saying. There is a lot of DFS echo chamber going on right now because the main characters, if you will, the contributors, are going on each other's podcasts. And they're all saying the same thing to each other in a variety of ways. So this doesn't mean it's wrong by any stretch, but it's interesting that in our little microcosm of the DFS world, which we're going to be, the hardcore people that are going into the best ball content as well, has a different approach on things than what the remainder of what people are calling the casuals now. Now, the casuals really haven't come in earnest. They'll start doing that now because preseason has started. This is kind of the traditional draft time, et cetera. So you're going to see a lot of ADP movement. ADP is average draft position, and you're going to see movement in there. So you don't necessarily want to be following that. I like to have it up so I know where people are going to go, but I like to have our rankings as well up so I know if I can wait on somebody, if I need to jump up and get somebody. And you're going to find that Awesemo is going to take some stands on different players that the rest of the industry is not. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it won't, but at least it gives you a unique perspective to do that. The other most important thing is all of these different sites, they have different scoring systems, different number of half point PPR, full point PPR, but they have different rosters as well. Some of them are 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 2 flex. Some are 2-3-1, and some are 2-2-1. You'll want to be aware of what's going on there. And then the different sites get a different group of members. So on Underdog, that's mostly a DFS site for its people. On Yahoo, you get a lot of the season-long traditionalists. DraftKings, you get a nice mix of everybody. So it's fun to check out.
Yeah, for sure. And we've got that nice little promo going with Underdog. So make sure you capitalize on that. I mean, there's a lot going on with the season long stuff at awesemo.com too. So jump in there, guys. I guarantee it'll help with your drafts. I just love, to your point. And I know we're dragging the show out. I just love sitting there in my draft. I did it with a few guys last year I can't remember specifically who, but
David
Alex
Johnson
had a few guys
that stood out.
That was one that didn't quite work out well. I had quite a bit of him. Yeah. But hey, you take the good with the bad, right? But yeah, there were a few guys who did stand out that way and worked out quite well, where it's, all right, this guy, Alex has this guy ranked a spot ahead of this guy, but by ADP, this guy's going in the 3rd round and this guy's going in the 6th round. So I know I can wait till the 5th round, grab that guy, 6th round, grab that guy, and I can make a better pick higher up in the better rounds. So it's a powerful, powerful tool to have at the draft.
Yeah. And the other thing is that you'll find is it's a double-edged sword, right? So I've been listening to a lot of different podcasts just because I've been trying to catch up. So I like the usual ones out there, and some of the season-long guys like the CBS guys and fantasy footballers, and then the other competing DFS sites and stuff like that. So I like to just see what's going on. By the time you're done, you can hear everybody saying good things, or you can find people saying good things and bad things about the same player. McCole Hardman, you should draft him. McCole Hardman, stay away. TJ Hawkinson, he's horrible. TJ Hawkinson's amazing. He could make the next week, right? It's just so you're not going to know, and you can be a little confusing. So the helpful part of kind of looking at one person's results or rankings, and then you'll decide how your team is going, or the team construction, et cetera. But if you're using the Awesemo rankings, you're going to find you're different enough from everybody. I know what's going into them and how much work is going into them. I feel comfortable looking at them with a mix of what the ADP or recent ADP is. And then I usually have an industry consensus kind of feeling for what's going on. And then you got to be flexible. You're going to hear people talk about zero running back, zero RB. You're going to hear about hero RB. You're going to hear about robust running back. You're going to hear about stud wide receivers. There's all sorts of strategies. Just you have to be flexible when you go into these drafts, because it's going to change. You're going to get people sniped in front of you, but it's all about the construction of your team and what you're trying to do. So when you hear zero RB, basically all that means is people are waiting on running backs. They're trying to overwhelm with receivers in best ball, because they, in today's NFL, should be able to have more spike weeks or up weeks. And the thought is, if you have more of them and then you kind of survive at running back, you'll best your other people. Yep. The other thing to remember is these are like GPPs. There's 10 or 12 people in a league. There's only one league winner. Don't play it too close to the vest. You need to be a little bit more aggressive in the past. And then it's going to come down to attrition.
Yeah. Which to, fantasy football at a point always does, right? Outside of DFS, any season-long fantasy football, it's you draft, you cross your fingers, you hope you can work a couple lucky spots off the waiver wire, but we're just drafting and hoping for health and production, really. I mean, it's attrition for sure. But it's going to be fun. Going to be a good season. I can't wait.
Yeah. And then last thing you want to remember is, if you're playing in those large contests where the last 3 weeks take everybody from all the leagues and you're playing for the giant prize pools, you're swinging for the fences there. If you're in a standalone 10 or 12 person league, you don't have to go quite as aggressive and worry about correlation and stacking your teams, et cetera. In those situations, if you have somebody on your team and you're just in a standalone league, nobody else has them. That is your leverage against the field. If you're in these giant ones where it's going to consolidate, like last year, who was it? The Alvin Kamara 6 touchdown game was like the first week, the week right before the first week of everybody going to that next level. And all those teams went through, right? So you end up with a lot of teams that look the same. That's where you're going to hear people talking about, oh, I've got a secondary stack of this, or oh, I'm getting these people for differentiation. They're trying to do that, and they're trying to make sure that they're going to be in a good offensive environment and setting up, and hopefully injuries allow them all the way through, and yada yada. You want
to have that like DFS GPP mindset if you're building toward those ones that funnel into the basically a big GPP tournament at the end. You want to have those concepts like stacking and things that we talk about. And to your point about the different drafting strategies, it actually brings up a good point to not only think about your strategy going into the draft and think about how you can pivot during the draft and maybe be nimble from one strategy to the next, but also as you're going through the rounds, take a look at your opponents and take a look at how they're drafting and try and figure out what they're doing. If you know that 3 of the other guys are going zero running back, that can have an influence on what you do with your draft, whether you go that way as well and kind of join the field, or whether you start drafting running backs, or maybe you know that, hey, I can probably wait on this guy until my swing pick next round because these next 3 guys are going zero running back. Nobody's going to take them. So it can give you a little bit of an advantage over the field as well. So always be thinking about what these other guys are doing and pay attention to what they say at the table and all those things.
All right. With that, before Jordan's eyes roll back into his head, we are going to get on.
There's no more shows. I thought we were just going to go through the afternoon. Let's put on a baseball game and hang out. Crack some beers. Oh,
it'll be a good time. Yeah, I have some beer.
You can take your nap on the air. Everybody will enjoy it.
Yeah, I have some beer that's probably 6 months old in my downstairs fridge. I'll go get one of those and we can keep going. But I think we're good. Good. But with that, gamers, you can follow Terry on Twitter at DigitalB21. I am at EMac DFS, and of course, it is Awesemo _COM. With that, gamers, good luck.